Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another edition of 13 Cards Subject to Change. As always, we are in Leroy's kitchen. Leroy, how you doing today?
Doing good. Just not liking the snow again, but hey, had to shovel for you so you wouldn't fall on your
Well,
ass
thank
when you
you for
came in,
that. I really don't feel like getting hurt unless it's on the clock for workers'
and
comp,
even
but
put
that's all right.
salt down.
I know I saw the salt. I was really impressed by that. Anyway, we have a ton to get into today. So we have a guest on the show today, Leroy, who I've been trying to get for a while. I've told him about it. I just haven't found the right time to do it.
That's
Ladies
true.
and
Yep.
gentlemen, from the PWL, kind of the elder statesman, always keeping us up to date on the old school wrestling and how it's, let's be honest, mostly better when you see what's on TV today. Ladies and gentlemen, Thomas Bug. Bug, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good today. Thank you for that introduction, and thank you for making me sound like I'm 67 years old.
It's okay. It's okay. Leroy was born in about 1742, according to the show. Although it seems to get older every
Okay,
time
yeah.
I throw an insult.
According to Zach, I'm like
Better watch it, young
700.
man.
He says I'm older than you. I'm like 700 years old.
Well. Just sometimes your references sound 700 years old. Anyway, so today on the show we got a bunch of stuff to get to, all over the map here of different companies and sort of the same company, different brands. But Bug, little insight into your wrestling background. Go ahead.
Okay, well, I mean, if I was to start it from the beginning, I would say probably about like 1985 is when I very first started. And really, to be honest with you, I was a boxing fan first. I was like real sports fan first before I got into wrestling. So some of the ridiculous stuff that they had back then, it was a little hard to get into. But I mean, so naturally, I lean towards more promotions like the NWA and the Japanese promotions, the territories, that sort of thing. That doesn't mean that I didn't at least see what the WWF was doing.
Right.
So I mean, I go back that far.
Yeah. And a proud card-carrying member of the Cult of Cornet as well.
Yes, and I can't say that for YouTube purposes. I cannot say our tagline, but you know what it is.
Fair enough. So anyway, so you obviously have alluded to the fact that you've been more of a territory day kind of guy. My biggest question to you is, to start out here, I guess I'll jump right into the stuff I've been wanting to ask. What promotion out there right now, I guess outside of New Japan, are you really high on these days? Whether it's like an indie group or anything like that.
Well, I mean, oh yeah, my bad. I'm here, but I'm also listening to the Eagles game right here.
Hey, it's a Sunday. We got games on in the other room. It happens.
I would say, I mean, like, it's really a shame. This 2020 has just ruined everything. I thought the National Wrestling Alliance was really picking up steam. If we're going to talk about territory type promotions now, Major League Wrestling, they pretty much lost their steam. I don't know if they're still doing tapings right now, but I want to tell you right now, and I have a little bit of a bias because I am from Philadelphia, and I saw them ever since their very first show. But I have to say, ROH,
Okay.
they're having their empty arena shows right now, and the Pure title match, the finals of the Pure title tournament between Jonathan Gresham and Hot Sauce Tracy Williams was just a perfect technical wrestling match.
Now that's a big thing these days. Is recently on the show, actually, in the last couple of weeks, we've been talking a lot about the Elite and the Bucks and all this stuff and everything, and we alluded back to, for me, I would say 2005 to maybe 2013 to me is like one of the real peaks of ROH in terms of actually how good the in-ring competition was. I mean, I feel like their peak in terms of exposure was when the Bucks came in and when they had a lot of those guys. But I mean, to you, Ring of Honor's always been that promotion that they kind of survived on DVD sales. They always did their best to put real wrestling out there, and honestly, fantastic guys have been through Ring of Honor. I mean, it's just, you can go down the list of guys that have been through Ring of Honor the last 20 years, and it's ridiculous. So I guess I'll throw it to you.
So
what exactly to you is the peak of like Ring of Honor?
Well, it depends on your tastes. I mean, a lot of people would say like the 2005, 2006 time because so many, 2005 to like 2008. I would say a lot of people are saying that is the peak, because if you think about in that 4-year time period, so many things went down. You had the summer of Punk. You had the Gen X versus Embassy feud. You had
Yes.
the CZW versus Ring of Honor feud. You had Homicide and his quest to finally win a title. And it hurts me to say this, Jim Cornette getting in the way of that. So many and then Ring of Honor had to survive the which was pretty much an exodus of talent, like Samoa Joe and everybody going to TNA.
Right.
And they survived through that and actually had pay-per-views.
I always give a lot of credit. I mean, people always kind of talk about how TNA, now Impact, continues to be sort of the promotion that just cannot die. But I mean, really, if you really want to break it down, ROH has survived mass exodus of talent more so than anybody.
Yes.
TNA never lost talent to the level that ROH did. We've talked on the show multiple times about how, and this is one of my stickings with the Bucks, is they walked out right before that show at Madison Square Garden. New Japan definitely came in and I think saved the show. But ROH, that should have been a death nail for them. And they've come back. The Pure Tournament's been great. They still have a lot of their top guys. I mean, this is just the company that no matter what you do, you can steal 90% of their talent. As long as they have like 4 or 5 guys, they're going to make this work somehow.
I mean, and almost a lot of the wounds have been self-inflicted as well. I mean, there was the story about mid to late last year where oh God, who was the women's talent that was in there that got released and had But it was but I mean, people always talk about too. Greg Gilianis or Greg the Office Boy.
Yeah.
And several other talents people that were in charge of the talent like Ross Glode, and it almost seemed like the promotion was crippling itself within until people started exposing them, basically.
Yeah. Go ahead. You're good.
I mean, and it's just and Ring of Honor just every week. I mean, there was some issues there, but really, even in what could be considered the lean years, Ring of Honor just continues to have solid television. They just continue to have simple storylines and wrestling. That's all we want.
Yeah, no, me and a couple buddies jumped in our car and saw Masters of the Craft in Hopkins, Minnesota, a couple years back. I still have the DVD. We got to witness the Briscoes versus the Motor City Machine Guns too, and God, they tore that rec center apart.
Oh, they definitely
just an absolutely phenomenal match. That was actually interestingly enough, that was Ken Anderson walking in. Marty Scurll, I think, was the television champion at the time, and Marty Scurll, I'm pretty sure it was Ken Anderson, welcomed him with "Welcome to ROH, bitch," and then just slapped him across the face with a microphone, and that was really good. Interestingly enough, got to see Punishment Martinez at that show. That was I think the first time he got on Ring of Honor TV or tapings, and who is now Damian Priest for NXT. And go ahead.
Yeah, I'm agreeing. Yeah, that was a great find, and WWE, please don't mess him up.
You know the thing about it.
I hope so.
Okay, you know what? The thing about it is that it's really interesting because we're going to jump right into that. So the biggest title change in recent memory, and I say big in the most sarcastic way possible.
Through all the promotion, all across the whole promotion.
Period.
I totally agree with that.
I don't care. So Johnny Gargano comes out with his what is clearly a weighted wheel, because now he's not afraid of wheels because he won at Halloween Havoc. And he turns around and he has all these top guys. Priest is on there. Everyone's on there. And then there's a written, almost stapled on piece of paper that
That's
just
what it
reads.
looked like to me.
Yeah. It just reads Leon Ruff. And for anyone that doesn't know, Leon Ruff was a guy that when the pandemic started, WWE was bringing in. I don't know, Bug, you might know this. Was he a local like Florida guy?
I have to go back and look a little bit more on Leon Ruff. I mean, but first of all, just as a side note, as somebody who grew up on Philadelphia soul music, it kind of messed me up a little bit. I'm like, Leon Ruff.
Yeah, no, I understand. Yeah.
Leon Huff, Kenny Gamble, the sound of Philadelphia back in the day.
Oh, yeah,
That's
yeah,
what I thought when I saw him. But, I had kind of heard ripples about Leon Ruff. But nothing that really exploded out. And that's just like one of those angles right there that just happened out of nowhere. But hopefully he does a good job with the North American title.
Well, the thing about it was that when the pandemic started and they weren't able to get a lot of people, he was on NXT. I think he made a main roster show once or twice, and he was basically just there to get his ass kicked. He was basically just there to be a job guy. And, I know Jim Cornette himself was not as complimentary about this as I was. I thought it was a great little thing to mess with Johnny Gargano. And, this is going into my Priest segue. Priest comes out. I would have preferred Priest get physically involved, not just sit there. But, I guess I'm nitpicking. But Leon Ruff won the North American title. The celebration is something I will remember forever. And going back to, Damian Priest, if you let him just be him, he comes off so natural. He's funny. He doesn't seem harsh. He honestly doesn't sound like he looks. I honestly thought he'd sound a little more brooding, but he just comes off as like a normal kind of guy, even though he physically is a very imposing person.
Yeah, Leon Ruff, he's from Evolve.
Oh, okay. So Leon Ruff was in Evolve. Okay.
Yeah, he's made a couple appearances.
All right.
Couple appearances with NXT in December 4th.
Okay.
With
was there
Forgotten Sons.
That's right. He wasn't. Yeah, the Forgotten Sons, who everyone's forgotten about because the leader can't keep his mouth shut.
Yeah, he's made an appearance on Raw, SmackDown, 205 Live.
Oh, okay.
Event.
Okay, so
and he officially got signed October 7th.
When I heard that, I was actually really
WWE,
I was actually really excited. It's always cool to see a guy who just comes in, does what's asked of him. You don't have a lot of that anymore. I mean, we're stuck in an era, and Bug, correct me if I'm wrong. Are we not stuck in an era where there's too many people who don't just want a job on certain nights?
When you have the number one promotion in North America anyway, and it's like you're pretty much walking on eggshells from the day that you first get into that. What is it, the Performance Center?
Yeah.
And even if you were a major star at another promotion, it's like they have this way of kind of, just, I don't know, wearing on you mentally to where, you're afraid to do anything without it potentially ruining your career. Certainly nobody wants to be stuck, having a gimmick where they have a bucket in their head or whatnot. By the way, while you guys were talking about this, I was kind of reading up on Leon Ruff, and yeah, you're right. He did come from Evolve. I'm looking at this kid, and he looks excitable.
Yeah.
He looks athletic.
Yeah.
He kind of looks, and I really hope I'm not being sacrilegious when I say this. He reminds me of a Kofi Nahaji Kingston, kind of. And notice I said that middle name because he kind of reminds me of his days back when he was in chaotic wrestling.
Okay.
Up in New England and Deep South wrestling down in Georgia.
Yeah. I don't think that's sacrilegious at all. One thing I like about Leon Ruff is what I don't see a lot of anymore is when he was getting his ass kicked, he sells. I actually feel sympathy for the guy.
Yeah.
Which I feel like is so big in wrestling these days. I feel like I know there's a story recently. Vince McMahon was quoted as saying, I think it was of Dominic Mysterio. Whether or not you agree with Dominic going straight to the main roster or not, I don't care. Dominic has a way to get sort of sympathy with me. Now, whether or not that's true of the majority of the fans, I don't really know, and I don't really care. I actually can sit there and feel sympathy for a guy like Leon Ruff, and I think that's such a great asset to have in wrestling is when they put you in a scenario where you're getting your ass kicked Are you just going to get your ass kicked and no one's going to care? Is it going to fall flat? Or am I actually going to feel something for it? And Leon Ruff has checked every box with me for what he's come in to be. Correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, I don't know what else to say.
No, I agree with you. And I'll plug our little Allison Chronicles when
Yes.
she actually said, "Gotta be funny if he lost."
Yeah,
to Ruff,
yeah,
and
no,
then it happened.
yeah, no. Actually, Bug, my girlfriend on her YouTube show on our YouTube channel, she actually said in a very quick video that, "What do you think would happen if they let Leon Ruff win?" And then I turned off the camera, and like the next thing I realized, I blinked, and all of a sudden Johnny Gargano's trying to grab the belt from the referee. I'm like, did Johnny somehow steal this, or like what happened? And then all of a sudden I'm like, wait a sec. This worked. I mean, I don't know. So Bug, are you? How do you feel about Johnny Gargano? I mean, like, are you with Jim Cornette in that you think he's the blandest guy, or do you think there's something there with Johnny? Because I actually think Johnny can make me laugh, and he can make me pissed off at him in a lot of ways. I mean, or is it too funny to you? Is it too funny?
Well, a lot of things in this business are too funny. They're funny to me anyway. But
that's fair.
As far as Johnny Gargano goes, I think this is one time where I have to say NXT or whoever's writing NXT kind of screwed the pooch a little bit.
Okay.
Because you know what you just said about Leon Ruff and how he's kind of like this never say die sympathetic baby face.
Yeah.
I feel like the same could have been said for Johnny Gargano. And yes, we're seeing the heel persona of him, and yes, he's very witty in his delivery and everything. But at the same time, I just don't see how he's going to be able to come back to the virtuous side unless there's something way out of left field.
Well, that was kind of my concern. Leroy and I talked about this right around the beginning of the Gargano way with his wife, Candice LeRae. For me, I didn't mind them turning him heel, but stop putting him in the commercials as the heart and soul. I mean, like, Bug, you're a big territory guy. Leroy is too. But, I mean, just by saying territory days, I'm harkening back to a day when they took everything so seriously. The heels and the baby faces were never together in public. You never caught them sharing any kind words with each other. And it was just, everything was so meticulous to making sure that the veil was never pulled back. And now I think that, and this is one thing I've always kind of hated about WWE, is it's become entertainment, not even really sports entertainment. It's just entertainment, that we're just supposed to accept the difference between the heart and soul of Johnny Gargano and the all heart, no soul Johnny Gargano. And I'm just supposed to accept that. And I shouldn't and I should excuse the fact that there wasn't a huge change really that just led to a low blow by Candice. And to me, that wasn't enough. So, I mean, that's my only concern with the whole changing of Johnny is, once again, and this is my main issue with NXT, is they create such a brotherhood and a sisterhood in NXT that what are you going to do if someone's done in NXT? This has been my criticism of Rhea Ripley from day one. She's a great talent. She looks like somebody. She's amazing live. I've seen her live. Great talent. Yep. But she's so NXT. If they ever move her to another roster, is she going to be believable anywhere else?
No, I mean, and that's the thing that if you're going to have that mindset there at NXT, then why not have it in the other two brands as well? Why do you have to? Why do you have to come up there? Have them come up there? I mean, a prime example that I could think of, and by the way, I watch a little bit more WWE than you might think, than I might lead on at times, but the example being Keith Lee.
Yeah.
He was tearing it up at NXT. He was the North American champion. He was the NXT champion. And I know that you have to build somebody back up there if they don't watch NXT every Wednesday night. I get it.
Right.
But at the same time, they got him up there. So if his physique was a problem, why didn't you have him in leotards and everything when he was down in Orlando?
That's fair.
One example. And I could take up the entire podcast over here with examples of athletes that have come up, that have had phenomenal matches and phenomenal moments in NXT, and then it just comes flat up on the main roster. I mean, it's at some point you just give up, you know.
Now, okay, you have obviously had your ups and downs with the way Vince McMahon has done his things. I know your feelings on it. I think everybody can kind of get from the fact that you're not his biggest fan. But as many people have said, and they've all said the same thing, he's up for two things. One, perhaps the greatest promoter of all time, and B, at the same time, simultaneously, the guy who killed the wrestling business. But regardless of that, do you think it's him trying too hard to make them go through dues, or do you think he just doesn't believe in the system down there?
Vince McMahon, I mean, and Cornette has touched on this a lot. Vince McMahon is a guy, we could all say that he's set in his ways or whatever, but it's all about what he was brought up as.
Yeah.
And watching wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he grew, excuse me. He grew up on guys like Dr. Jerry Graham. He grew up on, Antonio Rocca and all those. So when he sees these guys coming through, he already has a little bit of a skewered vision. I mean, and yes, there is an emphasis on paying dues, and you must pay dues in this business.
Agreed.
But at the same time, I mean, don't completely neuter and strip away what made them, popular to begin with, and that's the one thing that I have against whenever they change heels in the baby faces. When is the last time that they had a heel change to a baby face that you didn't immediately turn on?
That's fair. I mean, I feel like
Not one.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. No, I definitely feel like
Oh, okay, I take that back. Daniel Bryan is an exception. People love Daniel Bryan regardless.
Well,
but, other than that,
that's true.
Well, but, and here's the thing: we're going to talk about another once in a lifetime talent a little later on the show from this past Friday. But here's the deal, Daniel. Do you not think that? And I'm going to use his Christian name, Bryan Danielson. Do you think that Bryan is just one of those guys that because he has no say no to a work ethic type of mentality that was going to happen regardless?
Probably. I mean, we all know that Bryan applies himself at everything that he does. I mean, he took the new Daniel Bryan storyline right there, and with that custom-made WWE Championship, he put everything he had into everything he does up there.
I don't think I'm pretty sure we had an episode where we talked about it, but I don't think you can actually understate that how serious he took that particular moment in his career.
Oh, very serious.
The gimmick,
totally could see that.
Like the gimmick was so in your face, anti. And here's the thing: Allison and I have been talking about this a lot because Allison is a huge Becky Lynch fan. Now, Seth, in my opinion, with the whole Messiah complex thing, here's a guy that the night Becky walks out is the most sympathetic guy on the roster, and almost immediately he's turned into a guy that I legitimately don't like. I can't stand Messiah Seth Rollins, and it has made me forget every time I see him on screen and he's given ample time. I forget that here's a guy who's about to become a dad for the first time. It was one of the biggest babyface situations with Becky virtually ever, especially in the women's division, and he's done a great job. And that's the thing about Bryan. I watched Bryan become probably the biggest sensation since Stone Cold and Rock because I'm going to be honest, the moment where he was on top of the cage doing the yes chant, that whole arena had their hands in the air. Not like, a good portion to where it looked like the whole damn arena was chanting with him in that cage. And you just don't get that kind of reaction that much anymore. So it's like, but when Daniel did the new Daniel Bryan, I didn't care anymore. I forgot about the moments. And that's why I'm saying you have a guy where I feel like Bryan was going to get farther than anyone thought. And I'm not saying Vince had an issue with the size. We all know he probably did. I'm not saying Vince made that his main concern. I think Vince legitimately did what was best for business, especially after he watched the fans. Because 9 times out of 10, I think Vince makes the right business call. He may not make the right wrestling call, but he makes the right business call. And
I can see that. Yeah.
And that was the thing, was that the hatred towards Vince really got hot. But I'm sitting here pointing to everyone, and I don't know if you remember some of the conversations we had in the lounge back during that run. I looked at them and said, do you really think that Vince is going to have Daniel not win at WrestleMania? Do you really think that he's just going to say no to that? This is the hottest thing he's had in 10 years at that point.
Yeah,
and then they tried to duplicate it with Roman, and it just didn't. It just didn't go.
Well, now, okay, let me ask you this, since we're kind of jumping here, but I love it. Do you think, because this has been a huge question, especially on our show, do you think that the current Roman that we're getting, do you think that this could have existed without the bad push from Vince? Do you think we'd get the same type of heat with Roman if that rough patch didn't happen?
You mean that babyface push where they tried everything under the sun to get him over, and it just nothing worked?
So yes. So take that out. Let's say Vince never shoves him down our throats like that. Do we still have the same type of vitriol heat that we have right now with the Tribal Chief gimmick, or do you think he needs that sort of low point with the fans in order to build what he is now?
Well, I mean, the best type of heels, and this is something that has never changed the business. The best type of heels have to have had some sort of adversity or whatever that they took. I mean, they have to have some fire in their belly.
Yeah.
And you know, with Roman having all of these people hate him for years, even to the point where they were making disparaging comments about his daughter, which I thought was disgusting.
Yeah.
I mean, he probably took that and he said, you know what, one of these days, you know. But I mean, I think that rough patch. I mean, it, you know, from getting booed out of WrestleMania in Dallas, having all these horrible main events and everything, fans turning on him.
Yeah.
I think it had to happen.
Okay. Now, do you think that he really can pull off going forward? Because the one thing about Roman is that he loves and respects the family so much. And it's one thing for him to mess around with his cousins, but if they bring in Dwayne, or let's say they bring in anyone else from the family, do you think he can really push the Anoni family buttons to prove he's the head of the table on screen? Do you think he has that in him to, like, if it's past the Usos, if it really starts to be an Alpha Sika push, do you think he can push the buttons of the Wild Samoans?
He probably, you know, I wouldn't put it past him. I mean, Roman Reigns is soaked up enough in this business. I mean, he's even born into the business.
Yeah.
And, you know, you don't spend that much time in the business without picking up nuances, without picking up experience from maybe like in your family, failed experiences past. I mean, I could see that happening. I just, you know the way wrestling fans think sometimes. You know what we've been saying for years about the McMahon family, being on television all the time and dominating the storylines. I think that WWE creative, the writers, they had better be on a tightrope as far as this storyline goes. Because if it's too much on television, if it straddles past that, even just a sliver, you know, fans are going to be on it and say, "Oh, the Anoa'i family is replacing the McMahon family." You know where I'm going with this here?
No, 100%. But see, that's my whole thing here, though, is that yes, creative needs to be careful. But going back to, you know, my question about Roman, though, do you think that with the fact that it is the family that we're talking about, do you think Do you think it's a similar situation with Charlotte and her dad when she cut that promo that where Rick walked out the building and she said, "Get out, I don't need you anymore." We all know on camera he cried, but we all know that behind the scenes when the cameras were off, he was probably more than happy that she did that. Do you think that if Roman is forced to kind of put up the middle finger to the Wild Samoans, to Rikishi, to the men that built this family up, do you think they wouldn't be 100% supportive of him doing that?
I think there's gonna. I think there's gonna have to be some, obviously some discussion within the family,
Obviously.
knowing that Roman might just have to go ahead and push those buttons.
Yeah.
And the one thing that I would say that Roman would have to be careful of is, once again, being a copy of something that happened before. Like I didn't even think about that Charlotte Ric Flair situation until you brought it up just now.
Yeah.
We cannot picture any of the Anoa'i family, not a Samoan. A Samoan's not going to get emotional like that on television.
That's true. That's true.
No. Watch him for long enough.
This is one thing where Roman he has a template to go after because it's been done before, but it's one of those things where he has the template. Don't stick too close to the template. Paint your own little broad strokes in there, and creative. Don't mess it up, please.
That's always something that is bothering me. It's interesting you say creative. That's actually a great segue here to a situation that I really want to talk about. So obviously every week on the Jim Cornette Experience or the Drive-Thru, depending on when they do the Wednesday Night War, we get the ratings. Okay?
Yep.
I don't want to talk about ratings of the Wednesday Night War, but okay, so as of right now, Bug, correct me if I'm wrong, NXT usually averages between 650 and 750, and AEW averages just above 800,000. Now, I want to throw this to Leroy and you there, Bug. The ratings are in for Sasha Bailey too. That segment of SmackDown did 2.5 million. 2.5 million for what was basically the story of the summer, and it was still the story of the summer, clearly through the ratings. So my biggest thing here about creative is, how much do you think creative has been involved in Sasha Bailey, or do you think Sasha and Bailey, based on what you've seen, have they been believable to you guys over the summer, or do you think maybe they went too long and too far? Because the ratings show that AEW as a whole can't touch Sasha Bailey for 15 minutes. So my biggest thing is like, do you think these two are really in charge of this, or do you think that they're just really good at spitting out someone else's words?
I think it's a little bit. I think it's a little bit 50-50.
Okay.
Anytime that something is given the go and put on television, it's gonna have the performers input in there, and it's probably their ideas, and they probably thought about it for a while. But of course, who has to have the final go for it. And creative, I'm not gonna undermine their efforts on this. I think Sasha Bailey, from what I've seen of it, it feels like a natural feud. It feels like Sasha is, what did we talk about earlier about Leon Huff? And Sasha is probably the Ricky Morton of the women's division, and how she could sell elements and everything.
From the first moment, not to cut you off there, sorry, but from the first moment I watched her, Ricky Morton popped into my head. I'm not kidding. From the first time I watched her, I'm just like, she is gonna make me care about what she does. And honestly, Ricky Morton, one of the best at making us believe in him. That's why he was, he's been able to do it as long as he has. Part of it is because you look at him and you're like, God, there's nothing to vitriolly hate. you're always going to love him. You're always going to love his work, and he's just so good. But, I mean, no, definitely Ricky Morton is the first name that popped into my head the first time I saw Sasha, and that's like going on, 10 years now?
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah. Anyway, go ahead.
So I mean, and yeah, and I think everybody can draw that comparison. Even as Shawn Michaels, back when he was a baby face. I mean, that's what I kind of get out of Sasha Banks and Bayley. We talked about the heels. I mean, Bayley took probably the crappiest storyline a couple of years ago that made all of Roman Reigns' work look like the Attitude Era in comparison.
That is true. I would definitely say, it's interesting. We've ranked, I think, 3 different times the 4 horsewomen. And I've always had Bayley at number 4, not on wrestling ability, but I've had Bayley at number 4 in terms of character. Honest to God, because to Bug's point, there was a time where it's like you can only do the whole I've got the ponytail, I love the kids thing. That can only go so far in wrestling. At some point, you have to have an adult. I mean, is adult the right word? An adult sort of look to you, an adult sort of feel. Is that the right? I mean,
adult or grown up.
Edge. Thank you. Okay, yeah, no,
that works.
Yeah, but no. I mean, here's the deal. I will be the first person to say it. I did not think that Bayley was going to be able to pull this off. I thought Bayley was the weak link in this whole thing. Because here's the deal. We all knew where it was going. You and I both said on the show, Leroy, we didn't know who was going to turn on who. But I did not think Bayley could pull this off. And I think Bayley, now a lot of people disagree. Allison is a prime example. She disagrees with me completely. Bayley has found a balance to me between snarky, annoying, but still serious. And it's that fine line that we've seen throughout years and years of heels. Are they annoying and snarky, or are they serious? And she makes me hate her and she makes me annoyed, but then she also brings it back to she is a serious heel.
Yeah, I think with her working with Sasha, that is the reason why I think it went well for her.
Well, I mean, obviously, it doesn't matter if it's a friend or foe. If you have chemistry with somebody, off camera, it's gonna translate to on camera. I mean, it's an absolute.
Yeah.
I mean, prime example, Bug. You did not see it live. You actually went back and watched it the same way Leroy did. Ilya Dragunov versus Walter.
Oh God, yes.
I just got a pain in my chest for thinking about that.
Ooh, yeah.
Right? But and again, we're jumping around, but hey, that's the way actual wrestling conversation. Yeah, that's what the show's about. But that's the thing. You watched that match, Leroy. I told you to go check it out. You were like, okay. Bug, same thing. I talked about it in the lounge. He was like, is it really worth it? And I said, go watch it.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden, Bug comments, thank you, because I mean, that to me was my favorite strong style or match in years. I mean, just so good.
Oh yeah, I mean, I haven't seen anything like that for years. I mean, totally. So I loved it. I hope they do another one again.
Bug, your thoughts on Dragunov versus Walter?
Okay, well, I was watching this match last Saturday as I was on my way to a local show here in Arizona. So I could watch it without any distractions or anything around.
Yeah.
Well, obviously they tore epidermis and blood out of each other. But it wasn't just that. I mean, it was Walter's presence. I mean, Walter having a seal for everything that they want to do, and it's obvious that they got the okay from it. They didn't just potato the crap out of each other without approval of each other. I mean, they knew what was going to be happening there, and I mean, and they didn't just beat the crap out of each other. It was storytelling. Ilya, I thought, sold everything well. I mean, I thought that he kept making comebacks that were just frantic and just never say die. I thought Walter did a great job of making Dragunov look like a credible threat. You know, like he didn't lose his aura of being a monster, but at the same time, he made Dragunov's offense look like it was going to like he was on the verge of winning.
But it wasn't overselling. It wasn't like
No,
this
it wasn't.
stuff that but see that's the thing. But that's the thing. My number one selling issue, especially in Spot Monkey Wrestling AEW, for people that don't watch the show, one of my biggest issues in Spot Monkey is Nyla Rose. She is 230 pounds of a native beast who oversold for a 90-pound Riho. And again, I am not questioning Riho's, wrestling background. I'm not saying that at all, but there is no reason in the very first match that Riho should be actually offensively beating down Nyla Rose. And to me, this was a prime example that if this was under the AEW banner, that's exactly what it would have been. Walter would have been hit with a chop and he would have ended up in the corner. Walter took the chop. You could see it hurt, but he didn't move. It was stiff. It played to what he was. And that's where I look at this match and I say to myself, I mean, again, I have nothing bad to say about it. Honest to God, I don't. And I don't understand how and it's really sad, but I've actually checked some message boards of AEW fan people, and a lot of them were bored with it. And I'm just sitting here looking at myself. Yeah, no. I swear to you, I don't remember names, but I remember comments. Whether it was Facebook, Reddit, other places for AEW, they got bored. They didn't understand what was happening. And I don't know if that's just the fact that they're so uneducated about what wrestling was.
I think that is the biggest reason why.
I mean, I'm sitting there and I'm seeing comment after comment saying, well, it was boring. It went long. That was 30 minutes, but Leroy confirmed this. It felt like 15.
No, it did not seem like a 30-minute match.
That was a 30-minute match.
Watching some of Full
Gear, which we'll get to here in a little bit.
Oh,
but
that was worse.
But I mean, Thomas, how long did it feel to you? Legitimate question.
You said it was a 30-minute match. I have to say it felt like 20 minutes or so. I mean, I felt like they, for anybody that's an AEW fan that's matching it, they were telling a story in the match. That's what you're supposed to do. And it doesn't matter if you're striking. It doesn't matter if you're high flying or brawling or two fat guys going at each other. I mean, a story was being told, and I can tell you right now, for anybody that says that it was boring, let that have been a match in front of actual fans.
Oh,
because
God.
the building was empty, wasn't it?
Yep.
Yeah, it was.
Yep.
Let that have been in front of fans, especially over there in the UK.
Yeah.
I bet you boring would have been the last thing they thought of it.
Oh, yeah.
They would have blew the roof off the place.
Well, but Bug, I don't know how much you've actually listened to the show, going back here, but one of my biggest rants, and I haven't stopped the rant since episode 1, is storytelling is just not done that much anymore. It's all instant gratification. It's all an indie mentality of you're in Tulsa one night, you're in New York the next. You got to give everything you got because you're not going to be here for 6 months. But then you're given the opportunity to tell a story in front of fans, and there just isn't anything. This is like okay, so you were talking about how you can have a story being told with high flying. We're sitting here seeing situations where I love Lucha Libre. I do. But I look at Rey Fenix versus Penta El Cerro. That's all I'm going to say of his name right now. In AEW this past week, and that's not what I was used to. Because here's the deal. I grew up, and I'll be honest, my first real lucha actually was Rey Mysterio Psychosis, their 3 matches in ECW.
Okay.
So I mean, you want to talk about 2 guys who just because remember, Joey Styles said it at the very first ECW One Night Stand back in 2005. They told Paul Heyman, you can't do a lucha style match in America. You can't do it. But then these two guys show up, and what did they wrestle at, like Bug? Like 400 times they've wrestled each other?
In between ECW and WCW and their shows in Mexico. And I think I have to go back, but I think they might have faced each other at one point or another in Japan. But either way,
were they the right two guys?
Back to the psychology. It goes back to the chemistry that you were talking about earlier.
Yeah. But the thing about it is that the lucha match that I watched between Penta El Cerro and Rey Fenix, which is sad because I've seen them have a decent American style wrestling match. I mean, is it just they don't know how to tell a story that much in lucha that makes sense to an American audience? And Rey and Psicosis just like had so much chemistry that they were able to show it. I mean, why can't I get more lucha style matches in the U.S. that make sense to an American audience? Obviously, if you're big into wrestling, you understand what the Mexican story is. But the casual fan in America looks at Lucha Libre and they can't follow it. Now, lucha's fast, it's high flying, and it's colorful and it's crazy. But I've seen Mexican style lucha. I get it, but I've followed Mexican style lucha ever since I watched Rey versus Psicosis. But Rey and Psicosis came to America, and I didn't feel like that match. You could have put that match on, like he said, Japan, Mexico, you could have put that match on in Stampede Wrestling. People would have gotten it. Am I wrong?
Well, no, you're not wrong. But I think a part of the reason why storytelling is kind of not being followed to a T. I think first of all, it has to do with a couple things. One, with the sensibilities of the wrestling fan today, that we say it all the time, but we're in the instant gratification era, and the last thing any performer wants is fans turning on a match. And at the same time, I think another aspect of it is, well, think about where you watched that Rey Fenix Pentagon match. I mean, I haven't seen it yet, but it was on TNT.
Yep.
Or was it? It was on TNT, and just like if it would have been on the USA Network, you've got all these network executives. You got all these people that are looking at the Nielsen ratings, and they don't like storytelling. Why are we dipping a point in the ratings over here? Maybe if they weren't so slow at telling a story, maybe if they did something, boom, boom, boom.
But isn't that kind of what?
Have this dip right here, and it's just a bunch of people getting their noses into something they don't understand, and storytelling suffers because of it.
Now, okay, you and I have obviously heard Jim's many rants involving Mr. Russo. We've all heard them.
Oh, yeah.
I listen to the original one once a week just to remind myself that there is some good in the world of wrestling, because my God, I mean, like I have said many times, if there is a YouTube Hall of Fame, that needs to be first ballot Hall of Fame in terms of just angry hatred towards it. And by the way, if anyone thinks that Jim Cornette is ever putting on a show, go listen to that rant, because if you don't think he actually hates this man viscerally, you have no idea what you're talking about. But anyway, I digress on that. He's always said in the Attitude Era, obviously Vince Russo's creation, just like Al Gore created the internet, Vince Russo created the Attitude Era.
Yeah,
of course. Thank you, Al Gore, for the internet. Thank you, Vince Russo, for the Attitude Era. Didn't have anything to do with Titan Entertainment. Had nothing to do with the two biggest stars in the history of the business being there at the exact same time. It was all Russo. But anyway, Cornette always said he never rushed to the ratings. He just wanted to make the better overall show. But I mean, do you think that it's even possible to still do that? Because like you said, there are so many executives who are asking about slight dips.
It's you gotta have somebody that you gotta have somebody at the top over there who has a balance between business sense and what actually works in wrestling. executives and letting them know, hey, listen, don't freak out about this about winning this quarter over here, this quarter hour, because the revenue and everything that comes with that's going to come down the line. I mean, this is going to pay off later on. Um, and once again, it goes back to the instant gratification because that goes up to network executives as well. They want to make the bottom dollar, and Ray Phoenix and Pentagon sitting over there having a headlock exchange or having arm drags and actually working to work a hold or anything like that. They think the average person is going to say, I've seen better. I'll just go ahead and change the channel over here.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, that's always been my issue is just this overwhelming. Look, the one thing that I have actually started to just kind of accept with AEW is it is a show for their fans. And I give them credit. Not that I can sit there and not say to myself, I'm still going to pick it apart because I can't follow it half the damn time. We're going to talk about a segment today that may have been the greatest segment in the history of AEW, but not for the right reasons. Bug, I'm sure you know what I'm talking about because it made Brian Last absolutely lose his shit on the last experience. We'll get to that in a second. But I mean, that's my biggest thing is just, do you think that you should just make a show for your fans, or okay, I'll rephrase. Do you think that you need to ask for more time from networks these days? Do you think you need to go to them and you have to explain to them how this works more, or do you just give in and you give the network what they want? Because again, you can say whatever you want about Vince changing things up on a dime. Look, Vince has to answer to USA Network. He has to answer to whoever owns USA. He has to answer to his sponsor. Vince McMahon, I hate to say it, gets handcuffed a lot because the culture of America has changed. In the Attitude Era, people wanted their boss to get punched in the face. They wanted to chug a beer with Stone Cold. And now...
They wanted to see boobies.
No.
That's true.
No, it's 100% true. But the thing is that everyone that says, I want the Attitude Era back, are the same people that are sitting there and they're like, well, why is this on my TV? Well, you can't handle certain things. I love my girlfriend to death, but she can't handle a political argument. But then she sits there and says, I want Trump gone. It's like, we're not pro-Trump or anything. We're not pro-anybody. But you have to understand that you have to deal with what's in front of you.
Yeah.
And that's where I think Vince gets a lot of bad rap from the wrestling fans. Is you can hate on the guy all you want, but he wakes up to probably 30, 40 phone calls from Nielsen, from USA, from Mountain Dew or Snickers or whoever's sponsoring, and they want
and these watchdog groups that want to just have anything and everything. Cancel culture.
Yes. Thank you. That's what I was. Thank you. I was trying to find the two C words there, but yeah, no, cancel culture is a big problem, and that's my biggest problem with AEW is cancel culture says where's the where's the female positivity, but AEW don't need this female division because the cancel culture goes, you get thanks for the females. The wrestling fans are like, what the hell am I watching?
They're trying to be positive and show females, and they can't do anything. It's just horrible.
Because okay, Bug, prime example was the situation. When Becky Lynch got pregnant, Jim Cornette got a lot of flack for what he was saying, but back in his day, or I should say back in the peak of the territories, Becky would have gotten replaced by another woman, or she would have just left camera and nobody would have noticed, and they wouldn't have acknowledged it, but females didn't bring in the fans at the time. Becky's an exception because Becky, got the closest thing to Stone Cold that I've seen since Stone Cold. Maybe not the same scale, but she got the closest thing. But I mean, cancel culture wants Jim Cornette gone for stuff that, again, we were on the show, we talked about it. I said Jim wasn't wrong. Becky could have still wrestled for a year or two, made $1 million, and then tried to be a mom. Yes, I know her age was a factor. I get the biology. I took medical classes in college. I have a somewhat medical degree. I get that. But to sit there and say, you idiot, you gave up $1 million, he's not wrong. You gave up $1 million. And there's not a lot of those slots in wrestling.
Well, any of these people, honestly, if they sit down and watch Dark Side of the Ring, Fabulous Moolah,
Yeah.
and how she did everything, and how
That's a great, yeah, no,
and it is
that's
great.
a great example.
It's a lot of them said they were mad at Moolah, they knew, but they understood and they respected her, even though a lot of them were a flash in a pan, and that's it. And that was it. The way they were treated, or were second-hand citizen by everybody, and Vince included. But he said, "Hey, we can make money off this." Boom, and then it wasn't going to make money. Then he was done.
Yeah. So I mean, for me, I'm not saying Vince knows what he's doing all the time. I'm not saying that in my personal opinion, I think it's time. I've said that multiple times. Maybe it's time someone gets a fresh look in there, because I feel like Triple H, when he has had full control of NXT, it's been the perfect mix of what we have now versus what it once was. And I feel like that because of the Nielsen ratings, Vince has had to look at NXT, and he's had to step in, because Hunter obviously has never cared one damn bit what the ratings were. He just wants to go out there and put on the best show.
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't want to say Vince is still the guy, but you can't take a guy like him, who is the reason why wrestling's on TV still to this day to begin with, and you can't just say, oh, he doesn't know anything. I mean, it's like, Bug, have you read Controversy Creates Cash, Eric Bischoff's book?
I have not, and the reason I haven't read it is because, one, it's Eric Bischoff. I don't know how much I could believe it, but I mean, and then also it's produced by WWE. Well, not produced, but it's produced by WWE. So I mean, who knows how much stuff kind of got fabricated, or them telling him to kind of say this here, say that there. I want to read an Eric Bischoff autobiography that is not pushed by WWE, because they're they have. This is one of the main pet peeves that I have with WWE. Their revisionist history.
Yeah. Okay. That's fair.
Oh my God.
Mm-hmm.
But no. But I know where you're going with that. I mean, but I know the kind of the gist of Controversy Creates Cash.
Well, but the thing about it is that I actually think that, in my opinion, read it once. I've read it a couple of times, but read it once, see what you think, because I'm gonna be honest. I honestly, from listening to the 88 podcast, or is it 83? The 83 podcast with Eric.
Oh yeah, with Conrad.
Yeah. From what I've heard on that show, from what I read in the book, I think it's as honest as Eric honestly could be, and I think that WWE didn't have much of a hand in it, because honestly, a lot of what Eric said was the death of WCW was TV, and they're like, don't go make Jay Leno jokes. And Eric's sitting there like, he's one of the biggest stars in the world. Why would we not put him on there and tell him to just tell the jokes he would on the Tonight Show? Now, yes, most of the executives were just trying to kill wrestling to begin with, but that goes back to my thing is just Vince has to run things by people who have no idea what's going to be happening. All they do is they see a joke and they're like, well, this is going to offend somebody. And Vince is probably looking at him like, that's the point. And but the problem is that wrestling is the only thing I've ever seen where the only way it truly survives is somebody has to get offended. I'm sorry, it does. You're not going to please everybody. Back in the old days of the territories, when you went to a different territory for a short period of time, like if you went from the Carolinas up here to the St. Louis area or even to the Minneapolis area, what worked in the Carolinas, what is a sadly acceptable jokes in the South may not have worked up north. And people might have gotten super offended by it, but it made the Carolina guys super big heels in the Minneapolis, St. Louis area. So it just goes back to wrestling was once a thing that cancel culture meant nothing to us. But then again, the territories didn't have TV stations that were major corporation networks.
No, and then the thing about the territories is you didn't have the access to it like you do now. I mean, the territories were based on let's just say Mid-South.
Okay.
They did their television tapings in Louisiana, and the people in Louisiana and Mississippi and Arkansas and Oklahoma, they were the ones that had that television, and so you played to their sensibilities. And then maybe different from, say, from Saudi, who's watching Angelo Savoldi's promotion up in the Northeast. I mean, things are going to be different there. You want to talk about this cancel culture? Think about some of the heels that were running around that time. I mean, like Baron von Raschke. You guys up in Minnesota know about this here. Baron von Raschke was running around. He was a German heel. He did the goose stepping and everything, and that's all the people need to know.
Yep. Yep. Loved it.
What do you think cancel culture would have did to him? You know,
well, yeah, him.
Going to even think about.
Well, it's him, and also the Von Erich's coming out of Texas too. I mean,
oh God,
senior. I mean, that's what he did for years too. Was a Russian.
But it's just I always look at a cancel culture person who thinks they're woke or they think that they're up on things, and I sit here and I'm like, you think that you're empowered. You wouldn't have lasted 5 minutes watching Territory Day wrestling. You wouldn't have.
No, they would.
Because again, they took it so seriously. You lived what you did. It didn't matter if you were. I mean, Roddy Piper's a prime example. Dude's from Canada. He played a Scotsman his entire life to the point where people in Scotland actually believed that he was a tried and true Scotsman.
Oh yeah.
And it's just one of those things where it's like Roddy Piper would have hit him with the coconut, and follow along with me for a second. Somebody in cancel culture would have said that's an insult to somebody from Hawaii. Even though Snuka has nothing to do with Hawaii and Roddy Piper's Canadian, they would have found some way to throw Hawaii in the middle of it.
Oh, yeah.
And by the way, with cancel culture, this is a prime example of why I hate it. You probably couldn't have found anyone in Hawaii that would have been pissed off, but they still would have claimed somebody on the island would have been pissed off.
Oh, yes.
And by not coming up with a prime example and just staying broad and saying someone's offended and not finding that person, they still get what they want. I'm sitting here looking at myself like, okay, who was offended? Well, somebody was. You got an example?
The coconut, because he hit him on the head.
Yeah, the coconut family would have been pissed off. Like, I mean, it's just, I look at some of the things that got me into wrestling, and I think to myself, I get why the Wednesday Night Wars is not 2.5 million. I'm going to wrap this all back around, by the way. I get why I'm not watching it right now grow. I get why the Attitude ratings will never come back. It's because the Attitude Era brought so many people in. The territories brought so many people into wrestling. What was the famous line from not Jerry Jarrett, but his wife? She looked at Jim when he was like 14 years old and said, "You see those people out there? They will never leave us as long as we stay true to them." And you just don't get that anymore because cancel culture is taken so seriously. It's such a huge thing that new fans are not discovering wrestling. Bug, I don't know if you heard my long year rant about AEW, but I have a friend who is not a tried and true wrestling fan, but she heard me and Allison talking about AEW one day when we were all hanging out, and she said, "Oh, AEW, I love to watch that. John and I think it's hilarious." And I just died inside.
No.
I just sat there and I threw my hands in my face and I said to myself, this is why I have a problem with Spot Monkey. You got a billionaire's checkbook and you're just doing it for the people that already like you. I'm not saying that they have to be the ones that change the wrestling culture, but you could try. You could do something.
Oh, definitely.
What bothers me the most is everyone sits here and says, "Oh, the Briscoe brothers, they're Ring of Honor till they die." And Anthem, does Anthem still own Ring of Honor?
Anthem that is never on Ring of Honor. It's
Sinclair.
Sinclair.
So, yeah, Sinclair. Are you telling me Sinclair, if you called them up and said, here's $250,000, give me the Briscoes, you're telling me they won't give you the Briscoes for $250,000?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
They're spending six figures on friggin' pockets on orange friggin' freshly squeezed Cassidy. But you can't get the Briscoes? And nothing, by the way, I love MLW. I don't want them to lose this. Jacob Fatu. End of rant.
Yeah.
How are you not calling up Court Bauer and saying, can I borrow Jacob Fatu for an Old Territory Day style tour for 6 weeks? In 6 weeks, Jacob Fatu would be the most over dude in America if he was on AEW television. End of story.
Definitely.
And don't tell me that somebody flipping through wouldn't look at that guy. He is the anti-Roman Reigns. He's just as athletic, but he's a beast. He is as Umaga as it gets.
Oh, definitely.
He doesn't have the Rock look. Rock to Reigns is Umaga to Jacob Fatu. Or am I wrong about that?
No.
No, I think that's right. Yeah.
But the problem is that, and again, Jim Cornette talked about this like recently. Jacob Fatu has had a rough past with the law. Okay, whatever. If this was the Attitude Era, nobody would give a shit. But today, with cancel culture, Vince has to put the almost chiseled out of stone Roman Reigns. Because Jacob Fatu has these issues that as soon as someone sees him, immediately they're like, oh, he's ugly. He's a beast. Well, first of all, he's supposed to be, number one.
Yeah.
But number two, they search his history, and the first thing that comes up are the arrests. That's why they couldn't do the thing with China for so long. I hate that they had to backwards put China in the Hall of Fame, but I also don't blame Triple H. Triple H said it himself. She was the eighth wonder of the world. She deserved everything she ever got.
Yeah.
But the thing about doing porn after wrestling, it's still a $1 billion company, and $1 billion companies have been brought down by things smaller than what China did.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
yeah.
When she said we love to laugh at it, I just was like, all I wanted to do was take the stuff that I am not Tony Khan. I don't claim to collect old Mid-South tapes. Because by the way, his booking style ain't no way he's ever watched a day of Mid-South wrestling.
Oh no.
But I just wanted to send them to the network, to YouTube. I wanted to go to a website that has the entire Smoky Mountain Wrestling catalog. Even if it's Daily Motion, there's 18 ads in the middle of it. I wanted them to go watch Smoky Mountain. I wanted a Tracy Smothers marathon with this girl.
Oh yes.
I wanted the days of old to be shown to this girl like, no, this is what it's supposed to be. And if you're turned off by what it's supposed to be, then I don't care. But I don't want you turned on to wrestling by a bunch of dudes who are clearly cooperating. They're not even trying to fake it. We've had this conversation 1,000 times.
Yeah, I've lost track.
I'm sitting here and I watch AEW and I see guys who don't care about what they've been given. And that pisses me off. Now, prime example of this is I have worked many jobs in my life, whether it's in wrestling, whether it's, at a grocery store. And people who put in their 2 weeks and give up piss me off more than anything. I get it. You don't want to work there anymore. But give your all for 2 weeks. It shows your character.
Yep,
and these guys showed their character when they walked out of Ring of Honor at the show at Madison Square Garden. By the way, Bug, quick side note on that show. Did that not kill any other wrestling promotion getting into Madison Square Garden?
Well, I know AAA was trying to have a show there, or CML, or one of those two. They were going to have it in the Garden.
Yeah.
I mean, WWE, I don't even think they run house shows there. Well, they don't run it right now because
yeah.
But
they
I mean, like, as far as like it, I mean, not even just Madison Square Garden. I mean, just anybody, maybe like the Manhattan Center, or the Hammerstein Ballroom in New York City. One of those like smallish type big venues, or even like the Paramount Theater.
There you go.
That right there, it just that's why I didn't watch AEW for a long time, is because I was like a Ring of Honor loyalist, and I thought it was kind of crappy what they did. It set Ring of Honor back a lot. They they were trying to push Matt Taven as the champion, and Matt Taven did a great job, but the fans just weren't ready to accept him as a champion.
I always said, not to cut you off there, Bug, I always said Matt Taven is a guy who, in my opinion, deserved a shot at the title because he was so loyal and he worked so hard. What is he a guy like a Jay Lethal? I don't think so. That's my opinion of Matt Taven. I have nothing against Matt Taven, but I think Matt Taven is a guy who worked hard enough to get a shot, but he's not a Jay Lethal. He's not a guy who, in my opinion, for his dual title reign in Ring of Honor, was the best in the world at that moment. I don't care if you love New Japan or Mexico, whatever. You can give me anyone from those places. Jay Lethal was the guy.
He was. Oh yeah.
For that.
For that time, yes.
For that time frame. I mean, it's just I watched him be a good guy. I watched him be a bad guy. I watched him out wrestle some of the best technicians in the world, and I watched him just ham it up with guys who didn't belong in the ring with him. I mean, he that was just. And by the way, great guy in real life. Met him in real life at that Masters of Craft. Just an absolutely wonderful person. Gave Marcus a shout out to his baby girl who wasn't born at the time. Marcus. The video is actually somewhere in the lounge. Marcus honestly loves Jay Lethal so much. That's his guy above anyone else. And when Marcus got that video, Marcus damn near sent me a tear, being like, "Dude, you got the GOAT in my opinion to give me and my girl a personal shout out. There's nothing else I need from you in life at that point." But just, I mean, and now we move on to another situation in AEW that is actually making me happy. Is our boys from Top Flight?
Oh God, yes, I was.
Thomas, have you seen AEW
happy.
Dark yet?
I have. What this past week?
No.
No, but I'm probably after this podcast I will.
Okay, so anyway,
this last week and then 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago and this past week, our boys from up here, Top Flight, Darius and is it Darius and Dante?
I believe so. That's what they're calling themselves.
Yeah. Darius and Dante are known as Angel Dorado and Airwolf up here. They were the Flip Brothers. After the situation involving George Floyd, they decided to take off the masks, and they are now wrestling as themselves as Top Flight. And they've been given 2 matches on Dark. They're actually going to be on Dynamite this coming Wednesday.
Yeah, they're 1-1 on there.
They're 1-1 on Dark. We came on the show after their first match against the Dark Order, and I couldn't stop talking about how I want Jim Cornette to watch this match because it wasn't 20 minutes like every tag team match is on Dynamite. It was a clear, defined, here's Top Flight, they're young, they're clearly the faces, Dark Order is the heels. I know Cody says these tired old wrestling tropes don't have to be in wrestling anymore, but damn you, I love a good guy versus bad guy fight. But I mean, Bug, go find the match against the Dark Order because they're smaller guys. They fly.
Send me some links.
Yeah. Okay. Yep. No, we'll do. But
Yeah,
anyway,
we can do that,
so yes, they fly a lot. They do a lot of. By the way, Flip Brothers trained by Ken Anderson, FYI.
Okay.
Trained by Ken at the Academy School of Professional Wrestling in Minneapolis. They took off the masks. They did their flippy stuff, but the Dark Order was always in control for the most part. It was only about 11 minutes, I think it was. Maybe.
I think something like that.
And it was a clear, defined, they sold for the Dark Order. It was one of the best tag team matches I had seen because everything made sense. They made the Dark Order look good. Stu Grayson looked as good as I've ever seen him look since he's been in AEW. Evil Uno, I'm not saying Evil Uno is the most athletic guy in the world, but he looked like a heel that was just there to punch somebody, and it made sense. I want Jim Cornette to watch Top Flight because whether or not you like the moments when they do the crazy high-flying lucha stuff that just like goes in a minute, whether it's a blink and you miss it kind of thing, they do have that. But they also are able to understand, and I think a lot of it's Ken,
I think so.
We're gonna
Definitely.
We're gonna try to have Top Flight on the show at some point and ask them. I think a lot of it's Ken, because like Ken's attitude or not, he knows wrestling. He gets the psychology of it. Top Flight did what they were supposed to do as a tag team in both matches.
Yes, they did.
They were dominant for short stretches in the first match, but knew that they weren't going to go over. They knew that they weren't going to have a classic, so we're going to get our stuff to show who we are. It's only a taste. I mean, it was just I still go back and watch it.
Oh yeah.
Because and by the way, it's so short, but they told me more in 9 to 11 minutes than the best friends tell me in any 20-minute 5-star classic that Dave Meltzer gives them.
Well, I was watching the second one too, and I'm like, yeah, and they win. I'm like screaming for joy in my living room. Yes, they won. Yes.
So, but it's just congratulations to our boys, Top Flight. Bug, if you have a chance this Wednesday, I don't know what they're going to look like against the Bucks, because we all know that the Bucks have turned into a highlight reel of themselves. Everything they've ever done in their years in wrestling, they have to do again in every match.
Yeah.
So I don't know
That's
if.
bad.
So I don't know. Well, okay. Prime example here, Bug. You obviously follow Jim. He is high on FTR, and we all knew the biggest rivalry in wrestling outside of Jim Cornette and the Bucks was the Bucks and FTR when they were in separate companies. They were on social media. They were always back and forth. Bug, you and Leroy have watched some of the greatest promoters of all time do wrestling. You watched Dusty's promoting. Would you take the tag team match that everyone in the world wanted and have it end clean on the very first match?
If they're going to have it end clean in the very first match, I would say that I would look it to where like they would have something to hang on to for the second match, like maybe a slip off or something happened, just a little storyline wrinkle in there.
Well, there was a slight slip up. There was a slight slip up when one of the members of FTR went for a senton, which we all know FTR doesn't do sentons.
Yeah, that was just weird.
Okay, here's my question. If that was the first time they tried a move like that after a 30-minute match, is that an out? Is that a good enough out to you after this thing had been building for over 5 years?
Let me ask you something. Was it the main event of the show?
No,
it wasn't.
Was it the semi-main?
It was like halfway through. Leroy's got the list here. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Number 6.
Okay, number 6 of how many?
9.
So can I see the list for a second? Okay,
yeah.
Bug, just so you're aware, the Young Bucks and FTR were number 6. After that, the direct following was the Elite Deletion debacle with Matt Hardy and Sammy Guevara. That was the very next match.
That was messed up.
So you get this 30-minute classic tag team match, and then you follow it up by making the people live their audience watch a 20-minute home movie. That is the actual sequence of events from Full Gear.
Yep.
Wait, hold on. I mean, they didn't have a segment where they just like did an in-ring interview, or I mean, who's formatting the show?
The Bucks.
A moron.
A 30-minute knockdown, drag-out tag match.
Yep.
And
I complimented it.
Another big angle.
Not to interrupt you, Bug. Leroy will Leroy will actually confirm. I actually complimented the Bucks and said it was one of my favorite matches, and I believe if you've heard the drive-through, Brian Last said the same thing. It was one of my favorite Young Bucks matches. I still don't agree with going over clean in the first match, but going back to what you want to talk about there, Bug, it was the 6th match. It was the longest match by a mile at this point on the card, and what followed was, yes, a world title match between Jon Moxley and Eddie Kingston, I Quit. There was also MJF versus Chris Jericho, which honestly could have opened the show. I wouldn't have cared.
Yeah, that could have opened it, definitely.
But the very next match was the 20-minute home video of the Elite Deletion from the Hardy compound.
Yeah.
And by the way,
that match was
and
good.
by the way, can I point something out? As we've learned, that was filmed almost 2 weeks before Full Gear, and Matt and Sammy were not on the pay-per-view except for that taped match. Matt and Sammy were nowhere seen in the back. Nothing.
Well, that's good.
Well, yeah, okay, yeah, it's fine, but here's the deal. I understand you don't want to. I understand you were making it like it's live, and you don't want people to think that it's not happening live. But there wasn't an interview that took place at Daly's place that you could have somehow thrown together. You just went straight in. You just went straight into the Elite Deletion.
Yeah.
You went straight into it, and I'm all of a sudden supposed to go from. Oh, by the way, can we also realize? Because again, I said it wasn't as good as the TNA version, but I think Matt had more of a hand in that, and that was a better version. Mostly because they didn't have the checkbook of Tony Khan. Sorry, Shad Khan. Tony has no money invested in this. But I thought the final deletion in TNA was better, but that's probably because it was forced to be lower budget, so it looked more like a wrestling match.
Yeah, they had it was decent. They had a couple good bits.
Allison hated it. Allison hates every moment of it because she is a media studies major.
Okay,
she looks at all the camera work, the shoddy lighting. She hates it from that perspective.
Well, I don't care about that. But you're talking
digress.
about the hurricane moment where he came in. That was really weird. But I did like the comment. It's like
what makes no sense to me is this: out of nowhere, you give me Gain Grail and the Hurricane.
Yeah. Well.
What?
Well, Matt did say something. He did say, "Well,
it's long-term storytelling."
Long-term storytelling.
I had to leave the other company. I know. It's like whatever.
Yeah, I was like,
but
how many years? But
anyway, back on track here. Bug. So, how do you look at that tag match ending when you realize that's what we went into?
I mean, that probably could. I would personally. I probably would have had the first match on an episode of Dynamite. To be honest with you, because if they're going, to have it on an episode of Dynamite, have commercial interruptions and everything, and have some finish where both of them get counted out, beating the crap out of each other, or they get laid out. Or
by the way, by the way, I apologize, Bug. I didn't tell you the wrinkle that made no sense in this match. Tully Blanchard was officially banned from ringside, not for anything he really did other than a 1 minute and 20-some second reading that Excalibur did, word for word, supposedly from the desk of Tony Khan, of why Tully was barred from ringside. He was barred for things he had done when FTR faced the Best Friends, when they faced Kenny and Paige. It had nothing to do with the Bucks. And Tully still walked out to the ramp, high-fived the guys, went to the back, and was never seen again.
Yeah,
so they banned him from ringside, and they did nothing with him. This is Tully Blanchard!
Yeah, they could have totally used him on different angles and, had 2 or 3 matches with FTR and the Young Bucks.
Yeah. But
it still is possible.
But what's bothering me is, as much as I hate the Bucks booking, I don't think they're dumb enough to say this is a one-off and it'll never happen again. But Bug, back to my original question: is that finish a misstep by FTR in the final 30 seconds? Is that enough to take what was supposed to be the 4-year build-up and give me a second match?
If they find some way to loop this into a storyline in the following episodes of Dynamite. Only if it's pointed at if they have a promo and they say we could have won this match. I assume the Bucks won the match.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so the Bucks won the match. I would say maybe if FTR comes out and says if this wouldn't have happened or this would have happened, and maybe the Bucks reply that they want to beat him again this time with no excuses or whatever. I have to go back and watch the match. Didn't Gene Crossan put it up on the board on the group?
Yeah.
Go ahead and message Gene. He's got a link to it. But Bug, here's my issue with what you're saying. What you're saying is great. Number one, I want to make that clear. This match happened last week. We've been through an episode of Dynamite. Where was FTR? They weren't even on the episode of Dynamite.
They weren't.
There was an interview in the back with the Bucks that had nothing to do with the match.
Maybe FTR, maybe they don't have them on television that week, but they're going to have them I'm hoping that this is the way that AEW goes with it, that they go have them featured on the next Dynamite and say, maybe we've had a week to stew about this.
Okay.
We've had, we're so embarrassed that we could not show our faces here in Pally's place. I really hope it's heading somewhere, because if they just move to another feud, not so much the match itself. Because I still want to see the match.
Yeah.
Everybody's talking about it, but if they just jump into another feud, or if they don't explain why they were not there at AEW Dynamite, that's probably going to rub some people the wrong way.
Well, that's my thing, is that this week is the AEW Tag Team title holders, the Bucks, in a non-title match against our boys Top Flight. But, okay, that's fine. But now FTR has to show up, cost the Bucks the match, let Top Flight get the win. Do something with this match. But I swear to God, if this match ends, and look, if the Bucks win, fine, they're the champs, I get it, Top Flight's not there yet. But if this match ends and I go to the next segment and there's no FTR, I'm out. I got nothing.
Yeah, they dropped the ball there.
Or if they set up the match over there, and all of a sudden FTR. That would be kind of a big switch if they did this. But if FTR attacked the Bucks before they even got to the ring, now even that right there would be a better follow up than just, like you said, nothing.
But that's been the problem with the booking of this show. You have a guy in Tony Khan who, he likes the Buck style. He fell in love with the Bullet Club, not the good Bullet Club, the bad Bullet Club. He didn't.
Oh God, you sound just like corny.
Well, we've listened to him too much.
I'm sorry. You chose the Bucks and Kenny over Tama Tonga. You're out in my book.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, I digress on that. But the thing about it is here's a guy who so far, and Jim's been correct, he's built a show booking like a kid who has a bunch of action figures and wants to see these matchups and just throws all these guys. We've had 95 8-man tag team matches that have led to jack shit on this show. Right. We have had so. I remember when an 8-man tag team match, I got something out of it. 2 guys hit each other, a tag team got mad at each other, something. We've had 8-man tag team matches where the next week all the competitors are in another 8-man tag team match, but they're different 8-man tag team matches with 4 different guys.
Oh, here you go. I had Eben, my 8-year-old son, tell me about what he did with his action figures and 2 tables with his wrestlings at Grandma's. That was a lot better than anything AEW. And I was like, that's awesome. I don't know I don't know, but he had 2 tables, 1 guy, and he jumped and went through 2 tables. And I'm like, that's awesome.
Perfect.
He watches wrestling with me, so he understands it.
Yeah, but that's been my point, is that Tony Khan has continued to come off as a guy who doesn't care about it seems like the only long-term story I can get, and we'll transition into this in a few minutes, is Cody.
He's the only one that can do it.
And that's because I think Cody has literally just looked at this dude and said, hey, you're paying me, cool, stay over there.
It's smart if he does. He literally is the only one I see on the show.
It's the only now, okay, there was the weird thing that we've talked about on the show 1,000 times, where he comes back after getting squashed by Brody Lee in like 4 minutes. He comes back after being off TV, allegedly, actually now confirmed, shooting a bad America's Got Talent remake.
Yeah, that's what
for TBS. But He's gone. He comes back. He's no longer blonde. He's got black hair. He's in a suit. He calls for a dog collar match, which there's no build up to a dog collar match. It just comes out of nowhere. They didn't even have a chain in this rivalry. And all of a sudden there's a dog collar match. And, by the way, Bug, I don't know if you watched that match, but Greg the Hammer Valentine was actually in the audience. But that was it. He was just in the audience. They panned to him like 4 times during the match. And I honestly think I watched Greg the Hammer Valentine when I was a kid. I just want to fly him out to Jacksonville, put him on camera 4 times, give him a check, and send him home. That's what it felt like. Greg, now look. After everything Greg's been through in his life physically, I don't know if Greg can cut a promo. I don't know if Greg can get in the ring with anything. But if that's all,
he can probably cut a promo, but getting in the ring might be a challenge.
But that's but this has been AEW. You've had Greg the Hammer Valentine, you've had Arn Anderson, you've had Tully Blanchard, you've had Jake the Snake Roberts, and they don't do anything. Lance Archer is dead in AEW. And by the way,
they're trying to get him back.
I can't believe I'm saying this, but I am watching a guy who is managed by Jake the Snake Roberts and I am calling him irrelevant. Jake alone makes him relevant anywhere else in the world.
They're trying. They cut a promo. They're trying to get him back.
He's dead.
I don't know if it's gonna work, but they're trying.
He was jobbing to Joey Janela for crying out loud.
I know. And now he said he's.
Hold up. I don't watch AEW that often. Wait, can you repeat that last thing you said? Please don't tell me you just said that Lance Archer did a job to Jelly Nutella?
Did he? Oh, okay. Hold on.
It is true.
Hold on. All right. Do you want me to explain the match to you bit by bit? It was quick. Do you want me to give you the highlights?
What the hell?
Okay. So, Joey Janela, Jelly Nutella, COVID Nutella, I don't care what his name is anymore. He's in the ring. He's in a tag team with Sonny Kiss. We all are aware of this. Actually, no, they're not. No, they're not even in a.
That was before.
That was before they were in a tag team.
Before.
This was the setup to the new Midnight Express that they wanted to call themselves.
Lord.
Anyway, so Joey's in the ring. Lance Archer's music hits. Lance is nowhere to be seen. All of a sudden, Lance comes through the entrance ramp, holding Sonny Kiss fireman's carry tosses him in the ring. Joey catches him. Now Joey and Sonny roll out of the ring. And then this match goes through a commercial break. He is actually selling for Joey Janela. Sonny Kiss and Joey Janela, when the referee's back gets turned, meaning Jake distracted the referee, then they both do moves off the top rope onto Lance Archer. So the baby faces in the match are cheating. They outnumber the heel. They're cheating against the heel. Jake Roberts screwed his own guy. And then, we're not even to the most egregious part of this. Now, okay, Bug, I want to point something out. This is a normal match. A sanctioned match with rules. Okay? I want you to know that. They get a table out. And the referee is not distracted by Jake Roberts. The referee is in the ring staring at this happening, but Lance Archer razors edges Joey Janela off of the ring apron through the table. Bell doesn't sound. The match continues. Joey Janela lost the match, but he was made to look competitive against Lance Archer, the Murder Hawk. The guy who just came off one of his best G1 tournaments ever was made to look competitive against Joey Janela. If there was ever an example in your wrestling career of you should have looked at the booker and said, no, pay me for the night, I'm going home, that's the moment. And by the way, hold on, Bug, that's not the worst part. The match is over. This is after Lance Archer was in the TNT title tournament against Cody. He had a classic match with Cody, and now he's jobbing to Janela. That's the timeline here.
Mm-hmm.
I got.
Oh my God.
I got nothing. I'm eating cookies. I got nothing.
Yeah, I bake cookies like I do.
But
The joys of being in my kitchen.
Yeah.
He left New Japan for this. Seriously.
But no. What's also bothering me is he is in the ring with two of their comedy acts. No offense to Sonny Kiss. We've said on the show, you can be a man, you can be gay, you can have your husband who's an Irish wrestler. We don't care. But you are not a main event talent. You are an underneath comedy job act right now. And you are in there being competitive with the Murder Hawk, a 6'8" guy who just came back from a back issue, who is an absolute beast, and he's competitive with these two idiots.
Yep, should have been a 5-minute. If
5 minute.
2-minute squash.
Lance Archer also. By the way, Lance Archer couldn't beat Marco Stunt in a minute. Marco Stunt got a match out of Lance Archer.
What are they thinking?
They're not thinking. They don't.
No, Bug. I can tell you what they're thinking. They think that they are combining the old school idea of getting a guy over by getting him over with guys that their audience already knows. The big wrestling audience, we know Lance Archer because we know Lance. We know him from TNA. We know him from Japan. We know him from even his WWE days.
Oh, yeah.
We know him. But their fans are not up on him because he's never done backyard mud shows. He's done actual promotions. But Marco Stunt has done some BS. We talked about the last thing he did.
We're not going to talk about that again.
With the dildo on the frying pan. Yes, I said that, and I'm not wrong.
Oh, my God. Yeah, we're not going to discuss that.
I'm not going any further on that. But anyway, Marco Stunt is over with their audience. I mean, he's not over because he's all 5'2", 110 pounds, soaking wet, holding a brick. But the thing about it is that Marco Stunt is known to the fans of the Bucks. So they know who he is. Joey Janela's a big internet star. I use that in quotations because all he does is bad ECW wrestling. And Sonny Kiss had some exposure on Lucha Underground.
Yeah, Lucha Underground.
Because of all of this, these are guys that if Lance Archer is competitive with and then beats, he looks good. That's their thought process. That's all I got.
Yep, that's it.
This is supposed to make me believe in a 6'8" Murder Hawk that he can't Razor's Edge Joey Janela in 30 seconds. Yeah. It takes him 10 minutes, a commercial break, and by the way, remember, they made Lance Archer look like the babyface halfway through because Joey Janela and Sonny Kiss both did top rope shooting star-like press moves onto Lance Archer. And oh my God, Lance Archer still kicked out. He's 6'8", 280 pounds.
I'd still be able to kick out.
I can throw Sonny Kiss halfway across this room right now.
Well, yeah.
And I'm not that athletic. But Lance Archer is apparently supposed to have to kick out at 3 after a shooting star press from Sonny Kiss and Joey Janela.
Yeah, and this is why I can't watch AEW on a full stomach.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But anyway, I don't know what to tell you. This is the type of thing that you can tell me they're trying to rebuild Lance Archer. The only other time I've ever seen Lance Archer is Jake is giving a promo in the back and Lance is beating up some guys in the background, but they're nobodies. We don't know who they are. They're dressed in wrestling gear, but they've never been on the show. They're probably the extras that they used when the Dark Order was 75 members. And by the way, you've got Jake the Snake Roberts, one of the great promos of all time, and you gave him 45 seconds.
Yeah,
that one I could kind of see because there was a segment a few months ago where Arn Anderson, who was like the second to Cody,
he's the coach.
They were building that thing between Cody and Lance Archer, where Jake Roberts did kind of go off the rails a little bit when he was talking. I mean, it wasn't Heroes of Wrestling bad, but he did kind of go off the rails just a little bit, and so they were thinking they don't want Heroes of Wrestling to repeat itself and so they had him over there. I think they could have given him a little bit longer, but I do understand the thinking of that.
Well, and that's fine. But what also bothers me is Arn Anderson has been here about as long as Cody has. He's been the coach of the Nightmare family, not the Nightmare Collective. That was Brandy's bullshit in the beginning that I still can't believe they actually let on television. But anyway, Arn has not been given a microphone recently. He's never been given 5 minutes to like talk in the middle of the ring on Dynamite about who Cody is. It was Cody asked him to be the coach, and Arn just said, "Okay, fine, I'll do it." That was it. There was no courting Arn. Arn is the man who looked at us all in the face on NWA television and said the 4 horsemen of professional wrestling. Was that NWA or was that WCW?
That was the NWA.
Thank you.
That was
okay.
It, yeah.
So yeah, he holds up those 4 fingers. He's the man who pointed and said, "That's the 4 horsemen of professional wrestling. The greatest spine buster in the business. Don't at me at that." And he hasn't even been given a microphone for longer than like 2.5 minutes.
Yeah.
What are we doing?
It's total disrespect to the good old boy
You've
from
got
Minnesota.
Arn Anderson under contract. I would let Arn talk every week if I could.
Yeah, but then again, you don't want to too much be as much as we love the Enforcer.
Yes.
I mean, at the same time, I think Arn Anderson also knows what his role is, because remember, he was an agent in the WWE, and he's probably an agent now, and so I think that may be why he's kind of scaling back and letting the young guys do their thing. Not to overshadow them. It goes back to what we said earlier in the program.
Okay.
You got to have a balance.
Yeah.
You can't have Arn Anderson on there every week. You can't have certain guys on there every week, because at some point fans are going to turn against the product.
Fair.
Now, some people already are turning against AEW's product. I mean, but that's for different reasons. But still, you don't want any of these guys having go away heat.
That's fair. Anyway, so now we're going to move into what I talked about earlier, which may have been the greatest segment in the history of AEW for the worst reasons. Cody's in the ring. He got his long entrance. He looks like somebody outside of the weird-looking neck tattoo. Cody looks like a star. I still can't get over the neck tattoo. I'm sorry. It was just it's
his
so bad.
His daddy's probably rolling up there going,
God,
"What the hell did you do that for?"
Brandy, I love Brandy. I may not have the best heat with you, but Brandy, you got to go home with that every day. I don't. Congratulations. But anyway, I digress. So he's in the ring. He's doing the typical Dusty thing. He's speaking to you, but he's really speaking to himself. It makes sense to him. It doesn't make sense to you, but somehow you're like you're engaged. Because remember, Dusty's stuff went off the rails, and we're like, oh my God, he lost it, and somehow he made it work.
Oh, yes.
Somehow I believed in everything Dusty Rhodes ever said. God rest his soul.
I love
And
Dusty.
Cody's got that, okay? He's got the speaking qualities of Dusty. Sadly, Dustin never got that. Dustin got the athleticism, but he never got the speaking. Cody is sitting there.
Even though Dustin has had some good promos in his day.
Fantastic. Yes. No. I'm not saying Dustin has ever been a dud. I'm just saying.
Oh yeah, but Cody has definitely surpassed him in that period.
Oh.
In that
Yes, he
area.
has.
Yes. He can talk till the cows come home. And by the way, all I hear is Dusty. Seriously. God bless him. And by the way, once again, may we say on the show, congratulations on being Cody Rhodes again. Congratulations.
I'm glad
okay
he
with.
got the name back.
Yes.
Definitely.
Yeah. Great moment for him. Anyway, he's sitting here. He somehow gets into he's now the giant slayer of professional wrestling. And then out of nowhere, a tall, very nice looking African American woman pops up.
Yeah,
and I have no idea who you are. I don't know what this is.
Did they even say who she was?
Her name is Jade Cargill.
Okay.
Something like that. And she comes out and she's now cutting a promo on Cody. Badly, awfully.
Yeah.
She
not
can't
good.
get through it. Okay, something that I didn't think about until Jim Cornette said it is that Cody was sitting there, turning his head away from the camera, and now it all makes sense, trying to ventriloquist the words out of this woman.
Something like that, I think so, yeah.
And
I did see that.
I go back and I watch, and it's like, And it's like watching Orange Cassidy hit the ropes where he grabs the middle rope with his left hand. You can't unsee it now. Now that it's been brought to my attention, I can't. By the way, Bug, have you seen that? Yes or no?
What? The little Orange Cassidy thing?
The rope
just
grab.
out of curiosity, I'm gonna have to check it out.
Okay. I am not joking. I did not notice this
weird.
until Jim Cornette brought it up, and I've seen Orange Cassidy many times in First Wrestling, all these things. Did great with Darren Corbin, by the way. Loved it. But here's the deal. Every time he goes off the ropes, watch his left hand. The right hand goes over the top rope like it should, and the left hand is at his side, completely square, pointed down, and he is grabbing with all of his grip the middle rope.
Oh, that sounds bad.
You will never be able to unsee it once you finally see it. Just find an Orange Cassidy sequence where he bounces off the ropes. You'll never be able to unsee it. Anyway,
It is so true, man.
Anyway, back to Cody. I cannot unsee Cody actually trying to pan away from the freaking camera.
I saw that.
Ventriloquisting the words out of this person.
I saw that too.
Get to the point. I've got something to do. Get to the point. And she was bad. I don't care about her in-ring ability coming down the line for Jade, but she can't talk. Don't ever give her a microphone again. I don't know what this is.
But the only thing that kind of made me wonder is, like, was she supposed to finish the promo?
I don't know what she was trying to do.
Or then she left.
My favorite part was that halfway through the interview, she lost what she was saying. She stopped and double bicepped, held the pose like she was Rick Rude or something.
Yeah.
Which I didn't get.
I don't know. Like,
is that part of who she is? Is that part of some gimmick I'm supposed to get from the freaking bar wrestling scene?
It's like, yeah, you got nice muscles.
Am I supposed to understand this?
Yes, we are.
Okay, good. Anyway, I didn't. So then she reveals, "Oh, you think you're a giant slayer? I've got a giant." And I'm thinking, all right, giant professional wrestling. Who else are they gonna bring in to spend money on? And then she does something that, in my personal opinion, has never taken the air out of a wrestling promo more in my life. She says, Shaq.
Yep.
She doesn't say Shaquille O'Neal. She doesn't say the Big Cactus, the Big Diesel. She says Shaq.
I think she said he goes by one name.
Who I've already seen at WrestleMania. He's not good. Sorry, Shaq, but you can work inside the painted area by the rebound, but you can't work in a 20 by 20 foot square ring.
Exactly. Like, how you doing, man?
Yeah. I was like, what in the fuck just happened? And then, when you think it's done, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages who are still listening to this crap, sorry, but Leroy's mom turned it off after I said fuck.
What? No, after 1 minute she stops.
Okay, that's fair. Brandy Rhodes must make herself known. She must somehow get camera time.
She has to protect her man.
She came out of Full Gear just to pose with the 17 Nightmare family people. They all leave.
Yep.
And then Brandy's not seen for the rest of the show. But Brandy, who has come in, she's been somewhat professional, somewhat smiley. She's done everything she can to stay a representative of the company. Now all of a sudden she comes out and she's the mama bear. You don't touch my man type of situation.
Yeah, she was protecting her man.
From what?
I don't know. The muscles.
Cody Rhodes looked at this woman like, I've never seen you before in my life. She never touched him. She never smacked him. She just said some things. That was it.
It was a flexing.
It was the flexing. Okay.
It was a flexing.
Okay. All right. Anyway,
yeah.
Apparently Brandy Rhodes gets mad at flexing. I don't know she gets mad at two things: flexing and anything Excalibur says on commentary. So that we have in common.
All right. There we go.
That I have in common.
I think this is why everybody in Canada loves us.
They love us in Toronto. I don't know why we've pissed on Jericho for 6 weeks, but they love us in Toronto. But anyway.
I love Jericho.
And by the way, Bug, I know you listen to the experience. I am not trying to be Jim Cornette or Brian Last. This is actually how I feel because I'm the only person on this show who has to actually watch this shit.
Yeah, I do that too.
I'm the only person that has to sit back and watch this crap. Anyway.
I do so much stuff. That's what I torture Zach with.
So Brandy cuts a promo. It's the best one I've seen out of her. The bar's not high. But it's the best promo I've seen out of her. She's angry. She means it. But at the same time, here's why I don't like it. Because it's Brandy, and it seemed like it was over-rehearsed. She seemed like she was trying to come off as this tough street person, even though this whole time she's been the supportive executive wife of her husband, and now all of a sudden she's the mama bear. Like, seriously, back to storytelling. You just gave me character development that I saw nothing of.
She's trying to say she has street cred.
You went from A to C and you skipped B.
No, I think
that's what this was.
I think they went A to D and missed
C and B,
everything in the middle.
C and B in that order. Bug. Is there something to be said for the protective wife thing happening instantaneously? Or do you think it doesn't make any sense when, like I said, for the year she's been on television, she's either been a bad heel or she's been the supportive executive wife?
I mean, it sounds to me like Brandy wasn't even the worst part of that segment there.
Oh, she wasn't. She was the best part about it. She was. I still hated it, but she was the best part about it.
Well, she didn't say anything would be good too.
I'd be happy there.
She just looks good.
Mean,
that's it.
I think people are starting to paint. I think people are starting to paint Brandy as being like a Stephanie wannabe or whatever. I don't think that's fair. I mean, I could see some instances where it would be fair. I mean, I don't know. From what it sounds like to me, maybe this. What was her name? The one that is now instant Botchamania material.
Jade
Cargill or something like that.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what it sounds to me like. Maybe this was an instant audible because she was killing because Cargill was pretty much killing the segment. And remember what I said earlier about those buy rates, about those quarter point ratings and everything. You just know there's somebody at the TNT executives who had the pulse in this was saying, do something now. Get this woman off of our television. She is letting all the air out of the balloon where Cody can't even save it.
But here's my thing, not to cut you off, but here's my thing. If you go back and you watch the highlights on YouTube, Brandy is not only angry, but everything sounds so rehearsed because she went to get out of my building, you in my face, I need you to never talk to my man again. See, it seemed like either Brandy's the greatest whose line is it anyway on the fly type person ever, or it was a plan, and maybe they told her to be more angry, maybe they told her to be more up than she always is, but for me, and this is just my opinion, it sounded like Brandy knew a little too much about what she was gonna say. When I watch Randy Orton, Randy will have those pauses where he's looking for the next line because obviously no one's got a written thing for him, but he makes it work. She went through it. There was no pause for effect. There was no let Jade get something in. It was just say it to get to the end. That's how it felt to me. Go back and watch it. I'll send you the link, and you can give me your thoughts on it, and we'll talk about it next time you're on the show. But no, that's what it felt like to me. I do not need Brandy Rhodes on my television screen anymore.
She can be on there with nothing to say.
No.
Just looking good, and that's it.
No. She is a lovely young lady. Cody, you married up. Without a doubt.
Oh, damn right. Ooh.
But I'm sorry. She has so much go home heat with me. I'm done. I don't want to see her. I don't want to have anything to do with. This is literally Russo and or the little dink of a former actor that he put the belt on.
David Arquette.
David Arquette. I don't want to see David Arquette's documentary. I'm still going to get a cop. I'm still going to watch it to review it on the show. But I don't want to see him. I don't even care if he's trying to actually take wrestling seriously in order to redeem the crap that he went through.
Rent that or buy it on Vudu.
It's on Amazon. That's all I know.
Oh, it's on Vudu. I can watch it on there.
But no. Okay, like I said on the show when we previewed it, David Arquette, nobody wants you to have a redemption story in wrestling. We just want you to go away. We want to forget that night. We want to forget what Vince Russo did to that title.
Yeah, and
I don't ever want to remember that night. And sadly, every time I see you and your skinny white ass in a death match, that's what I get.
Yeah. Well, we have seen him perform, and he wasn't that good.
It was a meh.
Yeah, you know.
But no. It's just Bug to you. No, she has that kind of heat with me. I don't want to see her anymore on television. Nothing.
I'd like you would rather see that Jade Cargill woman before you would Brandy.
At least Jade looked like she was a physical specimen of something.
Yes. Other than that, we don't know.
Maybe
she'll come out with. Shaq.
I don't know. But it's just once again, Cody goes from trying to build talent with the TNT title. He made Darby Allin into an overnight star to other wrestling fans because Darby did great. That was a good match.
That was a very
Cody
good match.
Cody played the classic heel. Bug, I don't know if you've heard Cornette's review on that match, but he compared it to the Briscoes turning heel in the Carolinas.
Okay.
Just out wrestling guys, not necessarily being heels. That's kind of what Cody did. We're
talking about the Jay and Jerry Briscoe, right?
Yes. Okay,
good.
Yes. The
original Briscoes.
The Briscoes that JBL said, and thank God there were only 2 Briscoes. But anyway, I digress. But no, it is a scenario where he made Darby look great. Darby didn't come out and do the thumbtack skateboard crap. Darby showed that he's got athleticism at 173 pounds.
Soaking wet?
So maybe, I don't know. But that was good. But he goes directly from that to now he's going to work with Shaquille O'Neal. Really?
Well, people at TNT, it's because
I get it. It's TNT.
There's no basketball. There's no basketball going on. They got to do something.
I get it. This is TNA when they were on the Travel Channel and they come back from a commercial for the Travel Channel for barbecue pit masters and there's a freaking barbecue pit at ringside.
Yeah.
That was clearly a plant for somebody to use, but that was supposed to be a segue by Josh Matthews. Certain moments I never forget in wrestling. That's one of them. But anyway.
Well, no, it's
or maybe he remembered back when he was a kid and he watched when Dusty was producing WCW and remember the Clash of the Champions when they had that cooking show on there and like that. There was this one show that used to be on TBS back in the 90s where it was like dinner in a movie. That's what it was.
Oh,
and
yes,
they had to incorporate that in there and have them joining the NWO and the Diamond Dallas Page giving them the DDT. Maybe he was remembering some of that, or even going back further. And I don't know why Cody would even try to mix this into it. But I don't know if he want to get inspired by it. But RoboCop. That's all I'm gonna say. But that's what it feels like to me. Like TNT is saying, let's incorporate all these other shows over here in the AEW Dynamite, and
look. When WWE returned to the USA Network years ago, they put some of the other stars from the other shows. They put them on. They did the thing where the Chrisleys finally came on USA, and they were in the audience. But they were in the audience, front row, billionaire. Fine, I don't care.
That's fine.
That's fine. But Shaquille O'Neal has already been in the ring at WrestleMania. And now he's going to be on TNT working with Cody.
Hopefully Barkley does not join him.
Oh, God. I want to see that.
You want to see Barkley on there?
Or Kenny Smith.
No. Bug, hold on. Little fantasy booking here. If Arn's going to follow Cody, I want Charles to manage Shaq.
Or Ernie Johnson.
No.
I want Barkley. I still want Barkley.
Ernie has a special place in my heart. I don't want him associated with this garbage.
Shouldn't be out there. How you doing, everybody? Barkley.
Ernie's got a family of wonderful kids. His wife is a saint. I don't need Ernie. I don't need Ernie in this. I don't. I'm sorry, but and sadly, I don't want Kenny Smith because he might actually be the most entertaining thing on the show, and I might forget about everything else. But anyway, I'm sitting here and I'm like, really? You gave 20 minutes to a guy named Warhorse, who I don't care how many Twitter followers he had. He wasn't ready for a primetime television slot. And now you're going to wrestle Shaq?
Yeah.
Come on, man.
This is one of those times where we talked about the bait and switch earlier. Please let there be a bait and switch.
Please.
Or please let I mean, as much as I hate to say it about 2020, this is one of those times where we wish that COVID-19 would interfere.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe. Hey, wait, hold on.
Anybody listening to this, I'm not wishing for anybody to catch COVID-19.
I understand.
I'm saying for something COVID-19 related to interfere.
This
like they've been interfering with all the football games and such over the last weeks.
Yeah. This needs to be. Shaq needs to follow Marco Stunt and Joey Janela to a bad show in Indiana. Some random dude catches COVID. Now they're all quarantined for 2 weeks. That's what I need. That's what I need.
Yeah, we could go for that. Yes.
Oh God, Shaq, I love you, but please, I don't care if the TNT executives are paying you for it.
Well, they are.
Your career, those 3 years were some of the most dominating sports I'd ever seen in my life. Please don't make me have to compare those 3 years to a match with Cody.
We're unfortunately gonna have to.
Anyway, moving far beyond what I care about here.
All right. What the heck are we gonna go into?
So now
next?
we have. Okay. Now I have a question to you, Bug. So AEW spent the better half of the first year not building the elite to be the top guys. Okay. That's the first year of AEW. Kenny Omega is thrust into a tag team with Hangman Adam Page. They hold the titles for 223 some days. Mm-hmm. Now they're in the finals of the tag team eliminator match, or the world title match. And now we've got Moxley versus Omega again. But Bug, I'm going to throw this to you because I don't know if you've watched or if you've heard the reviews of the first time Omega faced Moxley, but it was that bad match in Maryland that they got fined $10,000 for.
Oh, that's the one where they used the barbed wire and Kenny Omega got all bloody, and that's the one where somebody stooged to the Maryland State Athletic Commission.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yep.
So, by the way, I just want to point out something. Having watched the match, if you've heard Jim Cornette's analysis of that match, word for word, he was 100% accurate. I have compared the two side by side. 100% Jim was on the mark. Jim did not embellish anything. That's how egregious it was. But now they're going to have Kenny versus Moxley again, and since the Bucks got the belts, it seems like they're going to give the belt to Kenny, which will then lead into an Adam Page situation. But my question to you is after watching Kenny do a Moxley-style match, can Moxley do a Kenny-style match? Is that possible?
Hopefully.
I think if you're going to have a big rematch like this here, you can't have a rematch like this without having some sort of callback to the original one.
Which is fine.
Oh, yeah, I agree with that.
100%, you've got me so far. Go ahead.
So, if they're going to go, first of all, we have to define what a Kenny Omega match is, because some people listening to this podcast right here, we have some people that probably never saw any of his matches in New Japan except for the matches he had with Okada.
Yeah.
Because somebody showed it to them.
I'm going to ask you right there. Quick side note. I have actually questioned this multiple times on the show. I don't know. I want your opinion. Who, in your opinion, was carrying that match, Okada or Omega?
Honestly, I think it was 50%.
Okay.
I honestly think it was 50%, and I think Gato did a masterful job of booking it. I will say this much: when I saw Kenny Omega versus Kazuchika Okada at Wrestle Kingdom, I was actually shedding tears after the match. It was so beautiful.
But does Kenny's style work in America where the crowds actually react to every little thing, not just the big moments? Because we've talked about how the Japanese crowd is very Asian-like in the sense that they are respectful of the athletic competition in front of them. They don't get overly hyped. Does Kenny translate to an American audience? That's always been my question.
I think it does. I mean, Kenny Omega's his Japan work is overshadowed him, but I mean, he's had great matches in America. I mean, and that's even before AEW. I mean, the appearances he had for Ring of Honor. I mean, I can remember back at Ring of Honor Global Wars back in 2017.
That was actually good.
Yoshihashi was like he was like kind of like on the level of somebody like freaking oh god, who's the redheaded guy that just got cut in the WWE that was teaming with Rhino?
Slater.
Keith Slater.
Heath Slater.
And that's what Yoshihashi was viewed as. And Kenny Omega and Yoshihashi had a great match. That's just one that jumps off the page right now. And he's had several others. So I mean, Omega, despite what Cornette says or anybody else says, he has the ability to adapt to whatever crowd he's working in front of.
But now, is that crowd a crowd that's only looking for the cleaner, or do you think he can adapt and become a better version of the cleaner, an American style of the cleaner?
By the time that they faced each other, the match I just mentioned, Kenny Omega was really getting away from that cleaner thing. He was just known as like the best bout machine.
That's fair.
If we were to, I mean, the real cleaner Kenny Omega that everybody's talking about was back in 2015, 2016.
Because BC brought him in because they wanted a junior heavyweight presence, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
I think, well, I mean, as far as like the upcoming match in between Jon Moxley and Kenny Omega, it might leave a sour taste on people's mouth just because of the fallout and the aftermath from the first time that they faced each other. But those are two intelligent gentlemen. They are not going to repeat the same mistakes over here. It's not going to be blood everywhere. Even if it is, it's in Jacksonville. It's in their own. It's going to be in their own house, so they're not going to have anybody to stooge to an athletic commission.
And I want to be honest. And I want to be honest before we let Bug finish. I am not asking for Jon Moxley to not be Jon Moxley. I'm just asking Jon Moxley to be more than just a bad, subdued version of CZW Jon Moxley. I enjoyed the deathmatch version of Jon Moxley in CZW, but it seems like he's a dumbed down version of what he was in CZW. And
that's fair, but also you have to remember that was a much younger Jon Moxley. I mean, he's had years of abuse and everything on his body, not to mention the travel. And so there's some of us that would like for him to go back to the CZW Jon Moxley, but also from a physical standpoint, I don't think that's probably the smartest thing. I think it's probably going to be as long as we don't get later date Dean Ambrose.
Thank you.
That's
yeah.
I mean,
His
like
wife might
Dean
slap him for that.
We're not talking about Dean Ambrose that when they first broke in with the Shield.
No.
I'm talking Dean Ambrose when he's been mentally beat up by WWE
Yeah.
and going through all the crap, and that's such good shit.
Right.
That's what we don't want. I mean, Jon Moxley, I think it's going to be all right.
Okay.
I think it's going to work out.
Okay, and that's fair. And, I've said on the show many times, Kenny, my biggest problem with Kenny is, yes, I agree with the adaptation, but Kenny and the Bucks have worn on me because I feel like, at least from what I've watched, they're the same guys they were when I saw Masters of Craft. I haven't seen enough evolution, and maybe that's me. Maybe I want to see evolution over the years of a competitor. But then again, I've watched Tanahashi, who built the Tokyo Dome, who, in my opinion, right now, might be better than the Tanahashi of even 10 years ago. And I know that sounds crazy, but to me, I see a difference in Tanahashi now than 10 years ago. And I'm not... And look, it is obvious to everyone out there. It is a common thing. 10 years of doing something, there's going to be changes. But I'm going to be honest, I can't help but watch a Kenny Omega match and just think to myself, he's doing the same thing the Bucks are doing. He's taking the Okada highlights and he's trying to squeeze it into 20 minutes with who's ever in the ring. Whether that person is able to pull off what Okada was, it doesn't matter. He's trying to relive the Okada matches against Moxley. Pac can do it. The match with Pac was phenomenal.
Oh, yeah.
But Jon Moxley is not Kazuchika Okada. He's not.
No.
And Kenny was in the ring with Hangman Adam Page, who, by the way, Page, a lot of talent, good young guy. He's not Okada.
No.
Okada is in the running for Ace, in my opinion. He's not the Ace. That's still Tanahashi. But Kazuchika Okada versus Tanahashi, every time I see it, not only is it different, but I don't care which way it goes. I don't care because it's that good.
Yeah.
It always crosses into the level of I don't care what happens because my God, I'm going to get a great match. I mean, honest to God, I'll be honest with you. Tanahashi still dragon sweeps that leg as hard now as he did when he was first coming up as the Ace. I still feel my ACL every time I watch it now. But it's just, to me, Tanahashi is in my opinion, is a better version of himself now, even though I know he's not physically what he was 10 years ago. That's not possible.
No.
But I still get the highlights of Tanahashi, but it's put together in a way where I'm seeing the mental grind of being the Ace with the athleticism of young Lion. That's what I'm getting in Tanahashi.
Okay, yeah.
But I'm not getting that, in my opinion, from the Bucks and from Kenny. I'm not. I am not going to sit here and say that just because he was self-trained and didn't go to wrestling school, and we've highlighted the Harley Race story that Jim Cornette said.
Yeah.
We've highlighted that on the show, and I've said what I've said about Harley. I've said what I've said about Kenny. I've said what I've said about the Bucks. But as I told Eric when he was on the show, if I can somehow get to the Bucks and they would do an interview with me, I would sit down and I would say, now is your guys' time to shoot back at me, to shoot back at anyone. I don't care. This is the Colin Cowherd effect. He can rip Russell Westbrook for 10 years, but the couch is open. The microphone is open to Matt and Nick anytime they want.
Oh, God, yeah.
But I'm not going to sit there and just because they're my guest on the show be like, yeah, I've loved everything you guys did. There's a picture of me and you, and I still cherish the picture. Thank you for the autograph. But I'm bored since that night because I'm seeing the same shit. It's a bad highlight reel. And they're getting older, so they can't do the same things. Kenny, I'll never deny, he's a freak of nature athletically. Kenny Kenny can still pull off everything now that he was pulling off in New Japan those years ago.
Oh yeah, watching that Full Gear. Yeah, he pulled out some incredible shit during that match. So,
my
yeah.
biggest problem is Moxley is trying to be, and that's ultimately what I'm trying to get across there, Bug, is he's trying to be the John Moxley of old, and it's just making him look stale. Hard to say stale when you got thumbtacks and, all the shit that they did. I actually thought Eddie Kingston versus him, I thought it was a brilliant move when he goes through the thumbtacks and then Eddie Kingston dumps the hydrogen peroxide on his back. I actually enjoyed that.
Yeah, that was a good one, yeah.
But I love Eddie Kingston. God bless Eddie. I love the guy.
Yeah.
But it just, I don't want him to be burnt out Dean Ambrose, but I want him to be a version of Dean Ambrose that at least gave me a different version of Moxley. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yeah.
I think I know where you're heading with that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's just my problem with this title match is, yes, you have to call back to the old match, but can Moxley and Omega deliver an updated version of that, or do we have to call back to that match so much that it's just going to be another death match style thing on TNT network television versus CZW closed circuit television?
And when I say call out, I mean like when I say call back, I mean when you think back to the and I'm probably going to date myself over here.
That's okay. That's okay. Apparently, I called you 67 2 hours ago. So.
When I first started watching Purist, I started when I would go back and watch All Japan of the 70s.
Okay.
All Japan of the 70s. First of all, if you're gonna go back and watch old All Japan of the 70s that has like Baba and the Funks and all those guys, first of all, you better be prepared to watch some kind of like slow, methodical wrestling. But if you go back and watch some of those classic matches there is like maybe one or two callbacks over here to previous matches that they had, to where like and that's why they call the style King's Road, because what in one match, if you got pinned by body slam in one match, you're not going to get pinned by it again because you've learned your lesson.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying it has to be like a carbon copy of like what happened between Moxley and Omega back at that one pay-per-view. Maybe like one or two wrinkles.
Okay.
Like let me think back. And once again, I'm showing the New Japan mark that I am.
Can I not get the spider web though? Can we leave the spider web in the back this time?
Yeah. Please.
Because it wasn't even real barbed wire. They were less cut up when they got out of the barbed wire than when they went into the barbed wire. Sabu's sitting there like, you pussies.
Well, yeah, you're going to use that fake one that doesn't really hurt him and stuff like that.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Use some real stuff with that.
It looked like Christmas tinsel.
Yeah.
I swear to God it was.
Yeah.
Anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
Let me take you to a callback that happened earlier this year that I really loved.
Okay.
Earlier this year in New Japan, when they had the New Japan Road Tour, this is like in February.
Okay.
And they had the Manabu Nakanishi retirement show, and Manabu Nakanishi is wrestling in his final match. It's an 8-man tag match with him, Yuji Nagata. I mean the daddies basically.
Yeah.
Up against the young guns of youngish of Tanahashi and all those guys. Let me see. Back in 2009, back when the bird flu was going around, New Japan was supposed to have a co-promoted event with CMLL.
Okay.
But because that bird flu happened, the CMLL guys could not fly over.
Okay.
And so they made the decision on the fly to have Nakanishi go up against Tanahashi for the IWGP belt. And Nakanishi had failed all of these times over here. And also he had his injuries and everything that held him back from being on the level of his compatriots like Yuji Nagata and Kojima and Tenzan.
Right.
in that match there, Nakanishi, when he did his German suplex, his bridge German suplex off the ropes over here. Tanahashi tried to fight it, and he tried to hang on to the ropes, but he couldn't, and he got pinned. And 1, 2, 3, Nakanishi wins the title. The Korakuen Hall went nuts. It went nuts to the point where they were getting noise complaints from next door.
Right.
Because people just did not see that coming.
Right.
You want to talk about Japanese people not having a reaction? They had a reaction that night that probably would have blew the roof off of the Tokyo Dome. It was that loud.
Right.
So fast forward to 2020, and they had their retirement match. And during the end of it, and I know I'm probably spoiling things if you haven't seen it before, Nakanishi has has Ace in the position to go for the German suplex, and then you see Kota Ibushi and his tag partners holding on to Tanahashi for dear life. Because they've seen it, because it was right there in the same spot, not only in the same building, but almost in the same spot where it happened.
Right.
And they blocked it and wound up a sequence or two, and Nakanishi wound up getting pinned there.
Okay.
I thought that was I was like, whoa, that is a callback right there. So I mean, in a good spot, a callback could be good, but don't have it be a carbon copy.
Agreed.
From bell to bell.
It's
what happened before.
It's interesting you say that, because it's actually a great transition into another topic here. False finishes. Does it make the finisher meaningless, or do you think there's a place for it?
Okay, and I was ready for this topic when I saw Leroy send it over here.
Yeah.
False finishes are something that need to be done in moderation especially in a big match. False finishes, you see them a lot in New Japan Pro Wrestling. You see them a lot in Japanese. The difference between that and what I see in WWE is, when in WWE, they're kicking out of everybody's finishers.
Right.
I mean, like their actual finishers.
Right.
That royally pisses me off. Perfect example, Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar the second time.
Yes.
That I'm pretty sure everybody listening to this podcast could agree that it wound up, they threw everything into the first couple minutes, and then the rest of it was stinky.
Yeah. Was not a fan.
When you watch a New Japan match, they do finisher type moves.
Fair.
They kick out of those, but they're not there. I mean, but nobody's kicking out. I mean, it would take a hell of a lot for somebody to kick out of Okada's Rainmaker or Tanahashi's High Fly Flow or Switchblade's Blade Runner.
Yes.
They're doing finisher like moves, like a power driver or like a like a moonsault or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I see where you're going with it.
So I mean, if false finishes don't have like a 15-minute segment in there of doing it. I've seen, and the fans will get worn out.
Yeah.
We were talking about Ring of Honor earlier. There was one time back in 2009 where Austin Aries and Minnesota, Austin Aries and Seth Rollins were going at it for the Ring of Honor World Title on Final Battle 2009.
Yeah, great match.
It was a great match, but it went too long.
Yep.
It went too long, and it went to a Broadway. It went to a time limit draw.
Right.
And you could you could go back and listen to the crowd during that last little 10 minutes. The crowd's worn out.
Yeah. No.
Out of every single thing.
Yep. It definitely hurts finishers. It makes them almost irrelevant in a lot of ways. I'm fine with you hitting. I'm fine if you hit the other person's finisher and then you kick out. That's fine with me too. But if it's your finisher, it needs to be a finisher.
Definitely. I
So
totally agree.
anyway, all right. So Bug, we're gonna try something a little different here for the first time, and I really want to throw this at you specifically. I'm gonna throw some things out here, and I want you to kind of just quick react to it. Are you cool with that?
I will prepare myself.
Okay. The statement of Tanahashi is the man that built the Tokyo Dome. Yes or no?
No. He's the guy that rebuilt the Tokyo Dome, but no, the guy who built the Tokyo Dome. I mean, it's got to be one of the Three Musketeers.
Fair. Best Westerner to from the territory days to have a run in Japan.
Oh boy.
That's a good one.
It's probably going to be somebody from the 70s or 80s.
Which is fine.
So I'm probably going to say Vez or the Destroyer, Dick Beyer, or Hansen.
Stan Hansen.
Oh,
yeah, probably one the Funks. I'll throw them in there.
Okay.
Abby, Abdullah the Butcher. We have to consider him.
Yep. Okay.
One of those names right there. Carl Gotch was pretty much one of the godfathers of New Japan Pro Wrestling.
Right.
I don't know.
So we have
Bruiser
to
Brody would be
him.
in there, maybe.
What's that?
Bruiser Brody.
Bruiser Brody
is what he said.
Bruiser Brody. We have to consider him.
Yeah.
You could throw Vader into the discussion.
Okay. Okay.
There's the Funks. You can throw the Funks in there.
You know, it's really sad, but I feel like the modern wrestling fan looks especially at Terry Funk because it's interesting. I'm actually friends with a guy who's a wrestler down in the Mississippi area who I honestly think his belief of the Funks is the old Terry Funk who showed up to confront Mick Foley in that little WWE feud they kind of had going.
Yeah.
And because he actually put up a status one time, he didn't realize how good Terry Funk was until he watched like an old school Terry Funk match. Terry Funk could have wrestled you out of the building without even trying.
Oh God, yes.
Yes.
Just anything. All right, so now this may or may not make sense, but I honestly want to ask it because this is an A versus B that I really want to know your answer. Tanahashi or Jushin Thunder Liger?
Now you're gonna tug with my emotions over here.
I know.
You mean as far as like what like my personal favorite?
Well, okay, we could do that, but then who do you think ultimately, has done more in Japan? Who's going to be remembered more in Japan by the hardcore Japanese audience?
I'm gonna give a slight edge to Liger.
Okay. Is it because of the character? Is it because it became such a character?
Because it was a cultural icon over there.
Well, that's the one thing people don't get. That's the one thing that like I try to explain to people is just like in Mexico with the luchadors, Jushin Thunder Liger, those guys are stars in Japan.
Oh God, yes. Oh.
They are Japanese celebrity royalty over there in a lot of ways.
Totally.
So all right, okay. So you've got Liger over Tanahashi. Okay. Do you like that Jay White has the briefcase, but he didn't win the G1?
It's okay. Ignoring my undying love for the Bullet Club. I mean, ignoring the fact that I have flags in my room right now of the club.
Fair.
I would say Jay White is going to win the G1 Climax tournament at some point. I think him beating, especially him beating Kota Ibushi in the sneaky way in the slimy way that he did.
Yeah.
Because people were starting to have a little bit. I mean, if you notice, people were starting to have a little bit of sympathetic sympathy towards him because of the bullshit that Evil was doing.
Right.
It seemed like he was trying to put a divide in Bullet Club, but him winning that briefcase the way that he did reestablishes him as being a slime ball. It reestablishes him as being the guy that no matter who the IWGP Heavyweight Champion is come January the 4th,
Yeah.
you're going to be rooting for that guy against Switchblade.
Do you think the facial? Okay, we've talked about the simplicity of this on the show, and everyone's agreed for the most part. Do you think that the facial hair literally helped Jay White become more of a serious heel?
I think it brought out a little bit of character, Because, I mean, I'm beginning to notice that there's a difference in between Switchblade Jay White in between 2017, 2018 when he was clean cut, fresh faced, and everything.
Well, that was the thing. When he first became the Switchblade, I felt like the clean cut worked because Tanahashi's always been fairly clean cut.
Okay.
I thought that kind of worked.
I mean, he always had I feel like Jay White really developed this character a little bit more. I mean, and I think having the beard and everything makes him kind of look just a little bit more sinister. It makes him, even when he's smiling and it's just real smarky the way he does it. God, I love Jay White.
All right. Next question, also New Japan. Do you think that New Japan management is ever going to trust Gaijins to the level of the old school Territory Day Gaijins where they were monsters? Because in my opinion, I feel like Kenny deserved a longer run. I feel like putting the belt on Jay White so soon and then taking it away so soon didn't really make any sense. Do you think that New Japan has an issue with Gaijins having the belt, and do you think maybe Kenny hurt that?
I don't think Kenny Omega hurt them in that regard. I mean, obviously we have not had a Gaijin champion ever since Jay. Wait a minute, hold on, let me think about that. Okay, so it was Okada. He beat Jay White at the Madison Square Garden.
Yeah.
And then he lost his belts to Naito.
Yep.
I think that whole situation kind of burned Jado and Geto. And I mean, if you really think about it, that was supposed to be Omega that lost the IWGP title to Omega in Madison Square Garden.
Right.
Not Jay White.
Right.
The whole Jay White situation, I'm gonna blow everybody's mind when I say this.
Okay.
This goes back to, I mean, this was a kind of a cousin to a situation that happened back in '73.
Okay.
73, when there was a whole chasm where Dory Funk Jr. Was not wanting to drop the title after 4 years because there was some friction in between him and Jack Briscoe.
I've actually researched that situation numerous times, and that is a. If anyone doesn't know about that scenario, go look that up because that is something. Whew.
Oh yeah, because we romanticize the NWA, but the NWA had a lot of infighting in the '70s.
Yes.
Which led to the turmoil in the '80s.
Yeah.
But the situation that we're talking about over here is that they were trying to find a replacement and everything. They didn't even consider Bill Watts for the title, but they said he wasn't. They turned it down because Cowboy Bill Watts was. Nobody thought that they could beat him because he was so big, and obviously we've had giants that have made him look like a midget ever since.
Yeah.
They wind up having Harley Race beat Funk. I think it was in Houston. Yeah,
okay.
They had to beat him, and then he dropped the title after 2 months. So they had to drop him to the guy that they chose, who was Briscoe. So I say that to make a parallel over here.
Okay, yep, no fair.
Switchblade Jay White was playing the role of Harley Race.
Okay.
Obviously not as tough as Harley Race.
No.
Harley Race can kick anybody's ass.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Even from the grave, he can kick anybody's ass. and Kenny Omega in this situation over here. You know, he lost the belt to Tanahashi at Wrestle Kingdom.
Yep.
It really that whole situation got to rub me the wrong way, because it's like, you know, in the months leading up to that match with Tanahashi, they were kind of painting Omega in a heel type way.
They were.
And it's like, weren't you just painting him as a babyface? Him over here, his pursuit of the title, and then him with his war with the infighting in the Bullet Club.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden you're making him look heelish. What did you even thinking? I mean, and then
I've always said, not to interrupt you, sorry, but I've always said Kenny's end in New Japan was not what I wanted for Kenny. And while I've said many times on the show Kenny and the Bucks, but I've definitely blamed the Bucks more for screwing them over at the Madison Square Garden show. Leroy can confirm that. I've always been more on the Bucks than Kenny. But I've always said, while I do think Kenny could have handled it better, I'm not saying New Japan isn't at fault for a lot of what happened.
No.
Kenny does have a lot of sympathy with me, because I feel like you had built Kenny into someone, and I'm not saying this to be controversial. To me, he was built into a Prince Devitt level style Gaijin. He was the biggest guy. He was the first Westerner to win the G1.
Yeah.
And you do all of that, and then you kind of unceremoniously just book him in a way that makes no sense. And I didn't get it. I didn't get it at the time. Anyway, go ahead and finish your statement on that, because I got a couple more doozies on New Japan for you.
Sure. So I think now in the situation is that Jay White is going to have this shot at the Tokyo Dome.
Okay.
I mean, honestly, I don't see him beating Naito. But at the same time, it wouldn't surprise me if he did, because that would be Jay White's kind of redemption story. Because remember, who did he lose the Intercontinental title to at Wrestle Kingdom?
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep.
So I mean, there's that little bit of a wrinkle right there, and with Jay White, with him winning the way that he did, I think this is going to reestablish him as being the number one heel in New Japan.
He's come a long way ever since Switchblade. He's really impressed me. He's been one of the highlights of anything New Japan related. I have loved Jay White ever since the debut of Switchblade. It's been fantastic.
And he came up in the system.
Yep.
Go back and watch any New Japan from 2015 to 2016. Who's one of the young boys sitting over there at ringside?
Yep. He's now your top heel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, people could talk about Evil, but I mean, like, Evil would probably be like number 2 in the level of top heels, and don't think we haven't forgot about that situation coming up, because that's going to fester itself at some point.
Yeah, no, and I can't wait. All right, couple more stuff here. Number 1, do you think that Prince Devitt, now known as Finn Balor, do you think he should have gotten more out of his run, even though technically he is one of the greatest junior heavyweights they've ever had?
Prince Devitt?
Yeah.
I think as far as the junior heavyweight division goes, I mean, Prince Devitt went about as far as he could go, and he was once again he was another guy that came from Ireland and made it and indoctrinated himself into the dojo lifestyle.
Well, that was one of those things that love Michael Cole or not on commentary. He wasn't wrong when he said Finn Balor said I'd scrub toilets just to get in the ring.
Yes.
Finn Balor was one of those guys who came over and he said, I'm not going to come over and act like y'all owe me anything. I'm going to do whatever you ask me to do, but I'm still going to be better than most of you at it. which is how I saw it.
Yeah.
I think at that point he felt like if he was going to make a name for himself in America, then he was going to have to do it at that point. And I think I mean, obviously it hasn't been a bad career move for him.
No.
You know, I mean, he's had several accolades at WWE.
I think I honestly think we'd be talking much differently if he didn't get hurt against Seth, which again, that was no one's fault. That was just something that happened.
Yeah.
It's just something that happened. And with Finn, with Prince Devitt, as far as him making a move from New Japan to WWE, like I said, I think that was all because he wanted to make it more of a name of himself in America. I think that the book of him, I mean, he closed one chapter of his career in New Japan. I have a feeling that probably a couple years from now that we may be seeing him back in Shin Neon Pro-S.
Okay. That's a bit of a take, but I can see it. All right. When does Tama Tonga win the G1?
I don't think that's going to happen.
Really?
I love the bad boy, but Tama Tonga, he's had some great stretches in the G1. There was like back in 2013, he went from a guy who was at the lower tier of the card there in New Japan, and once again, here's another guy who worked himself up in the system. People forget that he was a junior heavyweight at one point. Tama Tonga, there's just no scenario in which he would be winning the G1. I think he's always going to have years where he makes like 8 points or 10 points in the G1. I think he's going to have important moments in the G1, but as far as I don't think he's ever going to be a serious contender to win to even win the A block or B block or whatever he's in.
Yeah.
And then if you remember back in 2019, he wasn't even in the G1.
No.
He wanted to focus on the Gorillas of Destiny.
Right. Love them, by the way. Great tag team. Absolutely phenomenal.
Oh yeah, love GOD. And I think he's just at his better element when he's either in a tag team situation with Tonga Loa, or when he's at the top tier of like mid card storylines.
Okay.
Or
that's fair.
I mean, because him and the Tongans, they really back in the summer of 2018 shook everything up at the Bullet Club.
They really did. Loved it.
He did not need to be at the top of the card to do it.
That's fair.
In fact, go back to the 2018 G1 climax. Him and Bad Luck Fale spent the entire tournament ruining the G1.
That was sadly one of my favorite G1s. I loved it. I don't know why, but that was one of my favorite G1s.
Yeah. They spent the entire tournament getting disqualified because they were trying to send a message that this is the Bullet Club that you need to remember, the one that terrorized people back in 2013, the one that terrorized backstage people and that made the Japanese people hate them.
Right.
And they got back to that in 2018. No, I don't think Tama is ever going to be a serious threat to the G1. But I think he's always going to have some sort of presence. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I got a couple of things left on New Japan, and then we're going to move to our final topic. It's our final topic because it's going to get emotional, but we'll get there. Your guy who you feel. All right. First and foremost, this is the first two things. Number one, does Yano ever actually win one of these things? Not just the G1, but just anything. He had a great year.
Yeah.
He had a great year this year.
The Toru Yano Toru Yano is in the position where like he understands his place in the card.
No one has ever understood more their character than Yano, and I love him for it.
Oh yeah.
It just
and he's like in his 40s.
right.
So I mean, Toru Yano is not going to have the rocket booster tied to his back. I mean, Jado and Gedo are not going to do that. But what Toru Yano is going to do is he's always going to be a wild card. He's always going to be someone that screws up people's aspirations to win tournaments like the World Tag League or the G1 or the New Japan Cup. I mean, ask Minoru Suzuki. He has ruined that man's tournaments more than anybody has.
At this point, I'm surprised Suzuki hasn't literally tried to kill him. All right. Suzuki, do you think he gets a heavyweight run?
No.
Okay. Which I don't believe. Which by the way, let me clarify. That doesn't hurt Suzuki at all. No. In my opinion, he still comes off as one of, if not the toughest guy that you could find in New Japan. It doesn't kill his character at all. I mean, I do not lose anything for Suzuki if he never gets that heavyweight run.
He's a guy that you could certainly throw in heavyweight title matches. I mean, you go back into 2012, the match that he had against Tanahashi for the IWGP title at King of Pro Wrestling.
Yeah.
In the sumo hall, that was phenomenal. He's always going to have a place in the G1 Climax. He's always going to be. He's just going to be that gatekeeper, you know.
But he is. But the thing is, he is the example of wrestling where you don't need to win a world title to be remembered.
No.
It's that simple. You don't need to do that.
Yeah.
And it's not like he's never won any world titles.
No. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that he doesn't need a Ric Flair 25 world title run thing to be remembered. No. Although Rick has done it on multiple levels past the titles, but you get what I'm saying. We don't need title after title after title. It doesn't define Suzuki.
No.
All right.
And like I said, he's been a world champion before. I mean, I don't think Minoru Suzuki at this point wants to be a world champion because he's been a world champion. He was the GHC heavyweight champion
right.
over in Pro Wrestling NOLA.
Right.
He was the Triple Crown champion in All Japan Pro Wrestling. So he knows the pressures and the vigors of carrying a company on his back.
Right.
And here in his early 50s, I think he's content with just, you know, having matches with Shingo Takagi or Yuji Nagata where they just get in there and just beat the holy piss out of each other.
Right. Love those matches. All right. Final New Japan question, and then we'll move on. Your favorite guy who never won a G1? Who should have, in your opinion?
Who should have, in my opinion. And so many of my heroes have won G1s. Like, I just named Nakanishi. I just named Yuji Nagata and Tenzan and Kojima. All
right.
those guys have won the G1.
Right.
If I was to pick somebody who I wish would have won a G1, that's a tough one.
That's what we do here. We ask weirdly tough questions.
Sometimes, we do that.
Yeah, I like that. I would say probably, and I know I'm going to get a lot of viewers. I mean, I'm going to have to go back and go back to the New Japan rosters. They're not in my mind right now. But the only name that's coming up to me right now is Ishii.
Okay.
I almost said Togi Makabe, but I forgot. Makabe already won it back in 2009.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, everybody that I could think of that's ever been close to the G1 that's been a favorite of mine has actually won the G1.
Fair.
So,
That's fair.
it's yeah, I mean, I'm probably gonna come up with a name later on, like after this podcast.
Yeah.
That's the way it works.
Yeah. That's fair. All right. So, all right. We'll maybe expand on that maybe next time we have you on, but we've been going a little longer than normal, which is great. It's fine. We love doing that.
Oh yeah.
But we don't like to end the show on a somewhat hurt note. But this past Friday was 15 years of the passing of the late great Eduardo Guerrero,
Oh,
and I would be so remiss. I would be so hurt with myself if we didn't do something and talk about him as soon as possible. It's weird. Being a wrestling fan, I hate to say it, there's times when these guys just drop like flies. I hate to say that. Greats
Yeah.
drop like flies.
Oh,
I
too many of them.
remember every single moment of November 14th, the day after. Because obviously he passed away that night in Minneapolis, and the next day was when it hit the papers. I will never forget. It might have been the 13th. I don't remember exactly, but
it was Friday. It was
I went to
really
school
early in the morning.
Yeah,
when
yeah,
it
yeah.
happened.
Yeah. But the thing is that I remember every moment from the moment my mom showed me that paper news article. Because remember, I had just watched him the night before win a match by disqualification, being Eddie.
Yeah.
I got to watch Eddie being Eddie in my home state, and I remember every moment. I remember, like, seriously, I can walk you from the moment I woke up and saw that paper to the moment I got home from school. I was like in 8th grade or something. I remember everything. I remember everything I said to people. I don't have that memory that good on maybe anything else in my life. And it's so sad, not just because of his redemption story, but because very rarely are you able. Look, I never got to watch Babe Ruth, Lou Gehrig. I never got to watch Joe Namath. I didn't get to watch The Miracle at the Meadowlands, the first one. I didn't get to watch that live. I got to watch Eddie at the peak of what a great can be. Eddie Guerrero didn't have a prime. Eddie Guerrero was great virtually from the moment you found out about him to the moment he passed. You don't get guys like that very often.
No.
And Eddie was one of those guys who he loved lucha, but he got how to wrestle in America. Going back to our topic earlier in the show, he got how to entertain. Everything that man went through is a story that needs to be told 1,000 times over. But if we just focus purely on the man who was in the ring, I mean, we can't stop talking on this show about the current NXT Women's Champion, Io Shirai. We can't stop talking about how crisp she is, how amazing she is, how she just does things so effortlessly, and you're like, that would take some effort out of most of the roster. That was Eddie.
Yeah, it was.
Eddie versus Ray at Halloween Havoc. If that didn't set the stage for guys like Santos Escobar today, for guys like Seth and Punk and all, that match alone set the tone for anything that was ever done high flying from that moment on. I don't care. I love everything that came before it, but everything that came after that match at Halloween Havoc, you can't tell me that nobody didn't look back at that match.
Oh, we all did.
Against
Yeah.
Ray. And just, we feel for his family. I hate that his mother is still alive and he's not. I'm sorry, that might sound cynical, but she should not have had to bury him.
Yeah.
Under any circumstances.
Yeah, just coming reflecting back and being a parent.
Yeah.
That's the last thing I want to do.
Right.
Is to bury one of my children.
Exactly.
And I was older when that happened, when Eddie died too. 15 years ago. I was, heck, was I? Oh, shit, I was Yeah.
Yeah.
Can't remember. I was like around 30. I mean,
But what
geez.
bothers me the most is I think about his mom because is there any other woman you can think of in the history of this sport that was at the top of a wrestling royalty family that is as respected as she is? Name one person in the wrestling business that doesn't look at Eddie's mom and say, I ain't even close to that woman in terms of wrestling greatness.
No, I don't think so.
Is there
no.
anybody in this business that is arrogant or dumb enough to look at his mother and not give her the respect she deserves?
There better not be.
That's what
No.
I'm saying.
Yeah.
It just, I mean, don't get me wrong. Gory is like a father of lucha. All the brothers. I honestly think Chavo Sr. never got any credit for what he did because Eddie overshadowed it, because of Eddie's passing. I hate to say it, but because of Eddie's passing, I think we forget about Chavo Sr.
Yeah.
and how great he was. Hector, Mondo, all of them. Nothing against Eddie's passing, but we forget about Chavo Sr. But, ladies and gentlemen, that woman is the top of the pyramid. Anything that went through Guerrero life, that goes through her.
Mm-hmm.
And just, I can't stop watching. And I'm serious. This is before he passed away. I can't stop watching Brock versus Eddie. The whole match.
No.
Forget the ending. Michael Cole, one of his best calls ever, was Eddie winning.
Yeah.
That was like Michael Cole peak. Didn't get stale to me. But Brock, the jerk Brock can be, the bad stories about Brock, he still to this day can't help but hug Vicky Guerrero.
Yeah.
And thank her for that match. Yeah. And Brock doesn't like to work with virtually anybody. Brock is all about his money, which I'm fine with. Like I've said on the show, Brock knows who he is. Why not get paid for it? God bless him.
And by the way, just to cut you off here, if
Go for it.
I'm ever invited back to this show over here, that's another subject I want to talk about is Brock Lesnar in New Japan.
Okay.
We can do that.
Definitely put a pin in that. I got no issue with that. Sorry, actually, that we didn't get to it today, but we'll definitely get it back to that. But that's my thing, is just when you got a guy like Brock where there's no stories of him really even having a friendship with anybody, to think that he walks up to Vicky Guerrero and just can't help but cry, as tough as a guy he is.
Well, for me, just hearing the stories from all the wrestlers right after
Eddie's
it
book,
happened.
I have read that thing a dozen times. I own the DVD that they put out about Eddie, about his struggles and everything. It's just, I've watched them, I've read them, I know them word for word, but I can't stop reliving it. I can't. I'm not saying Eddie's a GOAT category style person, but on pure talent alone, dear God, just I don't remember who it was. It was either Hector or Mondo. It might have been Mondo, who said when you're teaching someone a hold, like a headlock, right arm, left arm, squeeze. Eddie's just like, nope, I got it. Just at like 8 years old, Eddie had a headlock down.
Oh yeah.
Just
yeah, it's one of my.
It's a lot, man.
One of my heroes. He died. I remember that day, and it's just I watched it, and I got emotional.
Yeah.
I didn't think I would.
Right.
And seeing seeing Big Show, and seeing all of them get all emotional. I mean, it's just.
And I remember.
Crazy.
This is one of the redemption stories for Vince McMahon, in my opinion. He asked Chavo, "What do we do?" And Chavo said, "Eddie will come back to life and kick your ass if you stop the show."
Yeah.
Do a tribute show, go on like it didn't happen. I don't care. But you're not stopping the show.
Do the show. And I did watch, and they ended the feud with Seth and Ray, where he ended it.
Yep.
Is like he did a frog splash. I'm like, oh, I love you, Eddie.
I had to walk out of the room. Ask Allison. That frog splash, I walked out of the room.
It got me.
It got me. I did not know the match was over until I heard the bell. Cause like Ray goes to the top, he did the shoulder shimmy, and I'm like, I'm out.
Yep.
I had to leave the room.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean,
Bug, you're down in the Tucson area. You're down close to that El Paso, Mexico style area. I mean, for you, what was it like to watch him, and like your thoughts on this day 15 years ago?
mean, when I was watching Eddie, I mean, I was never near this area at that time.
Right.
I mean, I saw Eddie from the very first time that I saw him at that when Worlds Collide pay-per-view. I mean, he was just he was playing in front of a largely Mexican crowd, but it was in the United States, and that when Worlds Collide pay-per-view, and him and Art Barber just being the biggest pricks on the planet.
Rest in peace, Art Barr. Rest in peace, Art Barr.
Rest in peace, Art Barr.
Gotta say that.
That's actually where he got the frog splash from.
Yep.
I mean, and then Eddie was just he was just somebody who just never stopped evolving his game. And watching, well, I mean, you mentioned the match with Ray at Halloween Havoc. I must have seen that thing a million times.
Who hasn't?
Yeah, I mean, the matches he had with Dean Malenko and ECW, the matches he had with Chris Benoit, the matches he had with
Kurt Angle.
Kurt Angle.
What's that?
Despite the backstage real heat, Kurt Angle, dude. I mean,
Yeah,
he and Kurt just instant chemistry in the ring.
Yeah, I mean, instant chemistry. Him and Kurt Angle at WrestleMania.
Oh God.
Yeah.
I mean, I just can't stop thinking of all these great memories of Eddie just in ring, and then like. As much as I'm against like sports entertainment, Eddie would just like do these little things. They would just like.
You can't tell me that. Forget the in-ring matches. You can't tell me Eddie versus JBL isn't some of the best segment work you've ever seen in your life. You can't tell me that that's not some of the best. Just.
I mean, the only thing that I would take back is JBL goose-stepping, and even he knows that was stupid.
Yeah.
But other than that, I mean, he really did his best to evolve JBL as a heel. I mean, JBL came into his own, and he thanks Eddie Guerrero even to this day.
Yep.
And JBL and Eddie Guerrero, we talked about the old school territories. That's what it looked like.
Yeah.
When I go back and watch it, those matches did not look like WWE matches.
No.
They looked like, I mean, the bull rope match that they had, and then the match that they had before that at Judgment Day, which was like 15 of the bloodiest minutes in WWE history.
Oh yeah.
That bull rope match is, in my opinion, the best bull rope strap match outside of Dusty's old booking days I've seen. Totally. I can't find a better one. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I have to go. I mean, we talked about the little dog collar match or whatever they had today. I still haven't seen that yet. But no, Eddie just had so much passion. He had so much vigor, and
and it was natural.
He was a natural.
He was
brought up in this business by Gory, and I think, and I used to love going back in WCW and listening to Mike Tenay when he would some of the things that he was said about Eddie Guerrero and his heel turn back then, like he was saying that this was built-in animosity because Gory Guerrero was a tag team partner of El Santo. Remember we talked about icons earlier in Libre? It doesn't get any bigger than El Santo.
No.
Gory Guerrero was like the workhorse of the team.
Yeah.
And Gory Guerrero felt overshadowed, and so Eddie Guerrero took that same he took all that vitriol, he took all that frustration and put it into his heel work in WCW.
Right.
It's like he was one of those that could do ridiculous things in there that would kill anybody else's career, but at the same time, when he would switch to something serious, he would just knock it out of the park. Like, good example, in 2005, just before he passed away.
Yeah.
As much as we hate that Eddie Ray storyline, where it's like
you believed it.
The center of it.
Oh God, yeah.
Look. Like I said, we've made fun of it for years later. But I'll be honest, when you were watching it, God damn, did they not sell it? Oh my God.
Oh yeah.
Eddie Guerrero sat in the ring and cut this promo, and I don't know if it was scripted or whatever, but but Eddie's delivery in it, where he sat over there and he talked about his son and everything like that, just made you want to rip his eyeballs out.
Yep. And this is the same guy that not even 2-3 years before you were cheering on about rehab. You were cheering on about congratulations, you got through all these demons, and now you hate him.
Yeah.
Not even a year.
Yeah,
a year.
That's the thing. It wasn't even a year. Within 1 year, I watched a redemption story, and then I wanted to stab the guy who got redeemed in the back. And I look back at that, and I get chills.
Yeah.
I just do, man. I don't even know. Oh my God.
And then I'm probably gonna bring the mood down a little bit more when I say this here. You know where I was when I found out about it?
Where were you?
I was in Iraq.
Oh damn, man.
I was in Al Assad, which was about 2 hours from the Iraq-Jordanian border.
Okay.
And it's like, I mean, I before that I was in Baghdad for 6 months.
Right.
And we were constantly getting bombed and everything. It's like you would always hear about some of the fellow soldiers in there dying. And this is kind of gonna sound bad, but the soldiers, my fellow soldiers in there were like, like in the infirmary and stuff like that, and it gripped me and everything. But the moment that I came back to my tent, and the guy that I had that was in the cot next to me,
yeah,
he told me that Eddie Guerrero died, and he was like one of those that kind of like says stuff like, he kind of like has a smirk on his face when he says it.
Yeah.
No, and I was looking for that smirk, and I'm like, dude, I'm not in the mood. Don't play around with me. He's like, no, I'm not. And he's like, go check it out. And I went down to, as I'm going over here to the computer room, I'm having thoughts just race through my head. I'm like, no, I'm gonna go over here, and this guy's lying. And I go in there, and everybody who makes fun of me for being a wrestling fan knows that I'm a wrestling fan, looks at me, and they're looking at me like a loved one just died, like a loved one of mine just died, and they didn't know how to approach me about it. I'm like, and that's when the reality set in. And then I looked on every wrestling website that I could think of is confirming that it just like, it hurt me worse than any death that I had seen over there. Because he was a part of as a wrestling fan, he was a part of my life for like 10 years.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And that was the thing. Yeah, and that's the thing. Well, and like I said, I wanted to bring you on the show as a wrestling fan. Someone's gonna obviously have a problem if I don't say this. Obviously, Bug, we thank you for your service, but I didn't want to bring you on and make that a topic, but we're there. Thank you, man. But I mean, to stick on topic, I just, like I said, I am not that old, 28 turning 29, but I've had a lot of days on this earth. That's the only one that I can tell you day for day what I did. I can't. I will never forget that day. I can't do it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Some people don't understand how much that affects. I mean, it's part of your life.
You want to know the biggest difference between why people might not get it with Eddie? Eddie loved you as much as you loved him, and that was genuine. That was real.
Yeah,
you could tell the guy just he genuinely didn't see this as a business. He genuinely saw it as what he was supposed to do. And kind of sort of to bring the mood back up a little bit, Bug, if you got like a couple more minutes here. I've been saying this a lot the last couple of days. Hear me out. We all know about the Performance Center down in NXT.
Yep.
You've got William Regal, you've got A-Train, you've got these guys that are there to train. A lot of old British strong style guys are down there. You had Dusty down there. Bug, I'm going to pose this to you and Leroy. Can you imagine if Eddie Guerrero was a trainer in NXT?
Oh my
Holy
God.
shit.
Can you imagine? He could teach promo class. He could do in-ring work. There is not a thing in that performance center that Eddie Guerrero could not have just led a class on.
Well, if it wasn't for him, Sasha's one of her. One of her biggest heroes. The boss wouldn't be the boss without him.
Yeah.
And God knows what she could have done even more if he was there with
all
her too.
All I'm saying is that you have the equivalent of Eddie Guerrero having a class full of people that go from promos to in-ring work to the weight room to psychology classes. That is the equivalent of having Peyton Manning teach you how to play quarterback from the age of 5 to 18.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's the only comparison I can make because Peyton's the only guy, in my opinion, that he had the mind to match the skill. He just had some injury problems.
Yep.
That was it.
Yeah.
But where NXT could be, where the talent could be with that guy.
Yeah.
You walk in there at 6'5", thinking that you're the best thing. Dominic Dijakovic could walk in, look at Eddie Guerrero, and be like, "You're 5'10" of nothing. What can you teach me?" And Dominic Dijakovic, I guarantee you, in 5 minutes, would be out of breath, and he'd be on the mat, and Eddie would have him tied up in something. Nothing against Dijak. I'm not saying Dijak's a jerk by any means. I know nothing about the guy. He seems like a really good dude. But what I'm saying is that if you take someone that looks like him and they come in with the attitude of this kid ain't got nothing on me, Eddie would have him tied up in 5 minutes. Not even. Wouldn't take him 3.
Yeah.
You talked about all the stuff that he could teach him, in ring and promo and psychology. And another thing he could teach those kids is how to conduct themselves outside of the ring, like on the road.
Right.
Yep. That's what
and
they need
that's
to
one
learn.
thing that I think is missing in the performance center, teaching these folks over here that, especially in the social media world, that there's just certain things that you shan't say or you shouldn't conduct yourself. So,
right.
I mean, learn from the veterans in the business. I think that's something Eddie would have brought to him as well.
We're gonna talk about this next week. Sorry we didn't get to it this week, but I'm not gonna say anything more on this topic until next week. But I am not for what happened to Selena Vega. She
oh my God.
Hold on. She is a far left example of something that I'm not going to go for. But there's also a far right of people who, like Bug just said, they've come into WWE, they've said things on Twitter, they've done things, and you look at yourself and you're like, that's not what you should be doing. I remember the guy who won Tough Enough. He called Heath Slater and those guys the Jobber Squad. Dude, you ain't even on the roster. You don't say that to dudes that are on the road 300 days a year and you're at the Performance Center twice a week. Like, just social media will get you in trouble. And Eddie, for everything that he was in ring, he knew how to deal with business backstage. There is a role you play. Sometimes you're the guy, and sometimes you're just a guy.
Yep.
And Eddie is the guy I always point to that you need to learn from him because he made the best out of anything. It didn't matter if he was the mid-card. You remembered Eddie's segment.
Oh, yeah.
It doesn't matter if he opened the show. You can close the show and still talk about Eddie. It didn't matter if he was WWE champion facing Brock Lesnar. You remembered Eddie because he made it work.
Yes.
And that's lost these days. If they're not letting like guys are like, if I'm not the world champion, why am I on the card? And I'm looking at myself like, because you're at least on the damn card.
Yep. Totally.
It's just.
Yeah, it's like
Eddie was a combination of the Territory Day guys and the modern day guys. And you want to know a match that I wish I could have seen? Owen Hart versus Eddie Guerrero.
Oh my God, that would have been epic.
Can you just imagine what that would have been?
That would have been great.
I think I probably can imagine what that would have been. In fact, I think that probably happened in New Japan.
No.
But not to the level that we knew Owen Hart and Eddie Guerrero.
But that's what I'm saying. Can you imagine? Because remember, Jericho said on Dark Side of the Ring, right before Owen passed, WWE was changing. Guys like Jericho showed up. Guys like Eddie and Ray showed up. You had guys that could put on a match with Owen.
Malenko was in there too.
Malenko, Malenko.
Yeah.
I apologize. But yeah, I mean, just that is a match that, at least in terms of pageantry, I don't think I can ever put into words what that match probably could have been
Definitely.
on this side of the pond. That's
All right.
That's all I got.
We give our love for one legend, and we can't forget the other
All
one.
right, Bug. We got one more thing. Leroy's gonna say it. You ready?
All right. One guy that it's his birthday today, God rest his soul, and all I have to say is, ooh, yeah! He died. I love that man. He would have been 67 years old today. We love you, Macho Man. We love you, Eddie. You guys, I grew up with them. My childhood with Macho Man, and then my later years with Eddie. It's great.
All right. I gotta finish this up without getting a tear in my eyes. So I'm gonna do my best here. Bug, thank you so much. This has been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you. Bud.
Thank you for coming on the show. Thank you for giving us your time. We can't wait to have you back. Did you have fun? I hope you did. I really do.
Oh, I did. Oh, yeah. It was great over here. I gotta say, this is a lot better than I thought it was gonna be. Because I don't really have podcast experience, so.
We don't much either.
This was awesome.
Our company motto is 95% of this is bullshit. So,
and it works.
Bug, you should do this. You should tell your friends to do this. Go subscribe to our YouTube channel. We've got interviews up with Darren Corbin, with
JDX,
with JDX. We got a bunch of stuff
Matt,
up there.
Purple Shirt.
And Purple Shirt, he's a local ring announcer. The Darren Corbin interview is kind of where this all started. Please go find us on Facebook. Go subscribe to us on YouTube. Go watch the interviews. Please, Bug. I would love for you to comment on those. I would love to see what you think about those. But yes, all your wrestling buddies, tell them to find us on Spotify, iTunes, YouTube, Facebook. Please, episode will be up in a day or two. Thank you so much for having for having the day for us. We thank you for your time, and for all of us here at 13 Cards, we'll be signing off. Thank you all so much.